Chapter 1403. These 5 green stone dragon experts from Dragon Island had already formed an absolute dominating aura within 10,000 miles of the Tan family's territory with their aura alone. All of the meta beasts knew clearly that the dragon race was here. As one of the top races among the meta beasts, the king's aura that it carried was enough to intimidate everyone within its vicinity once it appeared. "Where is my son now?" Seeing that the people in front of him were scared out of their wits, he roared again, waking Tan Jiyuan and the others up. "Elder, the body of the green-clothed guest is still being controlled by the Du family. They don't allow us to get close to it. They said that they want to punish him." Tan Jiyuan naturally had a flash of inspiration. He directly blamed this matter on the Du family. At first, the Du family did not notice the green-clothed guest's body. However, they realized that the green-clothed guest's body had gradually turned into a dragon's body after an hour of his death. Moreover, the corpse aura in the surroundings seemed to be highly toxic, killing all the plants around it. At the same time, none of the meta beasts dared to get close to the corpse to eat it. From this point alone it could be seen. The corpse of the dragon clan in front of them was quite terrifying. Even though it was dead, its aura still lingered. Since Li Zhongjio did not order them to touch the green-clothed guest's body, the Du family did not do anything about it. The people of the Du clan didn't go forward to deal with the corpse. Instead, they surrounded the corpse with wooden stakes. From time to time, the Du clan's disciples would go forward to observe. After all, it was the legendary dragon clan. The existence of the dragon race had always been just a legend, but today they saw it for real. Although it was already dead, it was still quite shocking. There were even some busybodies from the Du family who brought a drawing board over. One of the Du family's disciples had the talent to be a painter since young. Now that he finally saw the real dragon's body, he naturally wanted to use the brush in his hand to copy the dragon's body. Tisk tsk. Everything is good except for the head. If only I could see the dragon head with my own eyes. At that moment, the painter had already completed most of the dragon corpse works. Now with the ink brush in his mouth, he couldn't help but raise his head to look at the sky. At the same time, he was thinking about when he would be able to see the real dragon head with his own eyes. While thinking about it, suddenly the sky darkened. "Ah, is it going to rain?" She had just finished drawing, and the ink had not even dried yet. If it rained at this time, wouldn't it be ruined? However, just as he was about to get up and put away his scroll, he suddenly saw a faintly discernible terrifying head in the sky. It was currently breathing out clouds and mist. It looked like an enlarged version of a lizard head. So ugly. When the painter disciple of the Do clan saw this scene, he was really shocked by the huge lizard head in front of him. Its 2 nostrils seemed to be pointing towards the sky. Originally, he thought that he was dreaming, but now he was hallucinating. But all of a sudden, the disciple was sent flying by a terrifying aura. Boom! The terrifying aura instantly landed around the green-clothed visitor's corpse, isolating the surrounding aura. "How dare you disregard the corpse of our dragon clan's disciple, leaving his corpse in the wilderness?" The green-clothed visitor's uncle immediately roared towards the sky. The other party's actions were an unbridled provocation to their noble dragon clan. They were simply courting death. Such actions were a provocation to the entire dragon clan. Immediately, the terrifying aura immediately filled the sky above the Do clan. "Oh no, the dragon clan is coming." The painter hurriedly picked up his painting. It wasn't easy for him to fulfill his wish of seeing the dragon's head. However, it seemed that the dragon's head was different from what he had expected. Therefore, the painter was very disappointed. However, at this moment, he couldn't care less about disappointment. He hurriedly informed the clan about the dragon clan's arrival. In fact, there was no need for this guy to inform the clan. When the dragon clan came, they also came with great fanfare. They didn't hold back in the slightest. When they released their aura, it immediately crushed the sky above the Do clan like a mountain. The moment Du Su and the others sensed the arrival of the powerful beings from the dragon race, their faces changed immediately. Even though they had already recovered their strength, compared to these formidable beings from the dragon race, even if they were to raise their strength by another level, they might not be a match for these powerful beings of the Hui dragon race before them. let alone those who had just recovered. Since the green-clothed visitor had died, it was obvious that the other party's powerhouses were even stronger than the green-clothed visitor. Immediately, thunderclouds rolled in the sky. Everyone, don't act rashly. Ignore them. Where is Senior Evil Lord now? In the face of such a powerful enemy, Du Su had no other choice. He could only ask everyone to remain calm, and then send someone to look for Evil Lord. Li Zongjie waited bitterly for an entire afternoon. These 1,000 chill fish were more cautious than he had imagined. After all, it had been so many years, and they had never seen any food fall by itself. Therefore, they kept probing back and forth in front of this lump of food for a long time. It's coming, it's coming. Li Zongjie could feel that his hook was constantly being probed by the 1,000 chill fish. This meant that the other party was already impatient. Patience was the key to fishing. If one's patience could not outlast the fish, then one would never be able to catch anything. Furthermore, it was important to grasp the final moment. If one stopped too early or too late, it would leave a great regret. Suddenly, the buoy on the surface of the pool gently sank. Li Zongjie knew that his chance had come. It's finally taken the bait. Just as Li Zongjie was about to raise his rod to reap the harvest, a thunderous voice came from the sky. Evil Lord Li Zongjie, get out here. The pole in Li Zongjie's hand did not move, but the water in the heavenly chill lake was like a rattledrum at this moment as it violently swayed. After that, the 1,000 chill fish, which was about to take the bait, immediately turned around and left without any mercy. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Li Zongjie had been sitting bitterly for an entire afternoon. Finally, at the last moment, his painstakingly accumulated results were destroyed by the other party. Damn it, I think you have a death wish. Li Zongjie angrily threw the fishing rod in his hand to the ground. His body instantly shot up into the sky. Chapter 1404. The one who roared in the sky was none other than the uncle of the green-clothed visitor. Soon after, the other members of the Greenstone Dragon clan also arrived. 5 gigantic figures were intertwined in the sky. As they intertwined and swayed, they constantly released a terrifying aura. The sky was almost in a mess because of these 5 figures. Any force that fell down was enough to crush the entire Sky Suspension Mountain range. Just when Du Su and the others were at their wits' end, they heard the dragons roaming in the sky, provoking Li Zongjie on the ground. Therefore they all became alert. Great, this group of blind fools actually dared to provoke Senior Evil Lord. Now there's a good show to watch. Du Su himself also liked to fish and such. He also knew how unpleasant it was to be interrupted while fishing. Soon, the people of the Du family saw a figure rushing into the sky. The bodies of the 5 berserk dragons shuttled back and forth in the clouds. They could only see the beginning but not the end. At the same time, they spread their wings. Gusts of wind whistled, almost trapping Li Zongjie. You are Li Zongjie. The uncle of the green-stone dragon, who was the leader, stared at Li Zongjie in front of him. In the face of their dragon's might, Li Zongjie was not moved at all. Just this strength alone was enough to shock them. Then, the parents of the green-clothed visitor couldn't bear it anymore. No need to talk nonsense. Just burn him to death. Taste my green dragon's breath. The couple opened their bloody mouths at Li Zongjie at the same time, and breathed out extremely strong flames. Immediately, Li Zongjie was engulfed by the flames. They believed that no one in the world could withstand the power of the dragon's breath. Even the most terrifying magma in the volcano was less than 1/10 of the dragon's breath. It was as if a new sun was hanging in the sky. However, Li Zongjie was wrapped in the dragon's breath and didn't have any reaction. Now Li Zongjie had already cultivated the body of the evil god. A mere dragon's breath would not be able to do anything to Li Zongjie. At least in this world, there were very few things that could destroy Li Zongjie's body. Even if Li Zongjie wanted to be injured, it would be very difficult. A bunch of worms like you have the nerve to call yourselves Azure Dragons? Even the color is wrong. Li Zongjie had never seen the Azure Dragon, one of the 4 mythological beasts in the legends. However, these Azure Stone Dragons only looked like large green lizards with wings. They didn't seem to have the majesty of the dragon race. Were the dragons so casual these days? With a gentle lift of his hand, he sent the frightening power back to Lin Fan. Boom! Li Zongjiu bounced back all the dragon breaths that were approaching him. Pung! The two azure stone dragons couldn't see Li Zongjiu's movements because their mouths were wide open. In the next second, they were sent flying by the power that Li Zongjiu threw back. Pung! The two figures were covered by their own dragon's breath flames. Then the rest of the azure stone dragons attacked Li Zongjiu directly. Li Zongjiu summoned the unparalleled sword. He launched an overwhelming massacre. At first, the green stone dragon wanted to take advantage of its size and use its physical strength to attack Li Zongjiu. Its claws, its tail, and its bite. All sorts of close combat techniques that belonged to meta beasts were also displayed. However, the opponent didn't expect this at all. Li Zongjiu's sword was extremely sharp. At the same time, its body was as strong as iron. Its tail directly whipped Li Zongjiu's body. Not only did it not injure Li Zongjiu, but it also whipped its own tail. Li Zongjiu took the opportunity to grab the tail and slash it down. Whoosh! The sharp sword energy easily cut off the bluestone dragon's tail. The fierce battle in front of them made Du Su and the others shudder with fear. After all, if Li Zongjiu couldn't stop the opponent, the entire Du family might be buried with him. Moreover, there were 5 experts from the other side. Each of them was stronger than the previous blue-clothed visitor. Any one of them would be able to defeat Du Su, and the others without the slightest suspense. Now that there were 5 of them, they didn't know if Li Zongjiu could stop them. This battle scene is a little strange. Why does it look like they're cutting fruits? Du Tianhe looked at the sky. On the surface, it looked like Li Zongjiu was being attacked by the opponents. However, he soon saw some broken limbs falling from the sky. Bang! 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 One moment it was the tail. The next moment it was the claws. The front claws and the back claws couldn't be distinguished. After a while, there were dragon horns and dragon meat falling from the sky. Fresh blood kept falling from the sky as if it didn't cost money. When it was poured onto the ground, it would initially be contaminated by the boiling hot energy contained within the dragon blood, resulting in a situation where not even a blade of grass would grow. However, as time passed, the scars on the surface of the ground would heal, and powerful plants would be born. After all, this was the land that was irrigated with dragon blood. Some of the parts that originally belonged to the azure stone dragon were easily chopped off by Li Zongjiu. As the battle continued, the azure stone dragons were shocked to find that the parts on their bodies were getting fewer and fewer. They were shocked. 2 dragon heads also fell from the sky. Boom! When they fell to the ground, the dragon head itself couldn't believe it. In its final struggle, it blinked a few times. In the end, it widened its eyes and lost its vitality. Is this a real dragon head? The Du family's disciple, who was painting, happened to be not far from the dragon head. Now he could see it more clearly. He didn't expect that after waiting for half a day, such a thing would appear in the end. Suddenly, the Du family's disciple was quite disappointed. 2 more headless corpses fell from the sky. They were the 2 brothers of the green-clothed visitor. Because they dared to fight, they died the fastest. However, the remaining 3 figures were not so optimistic. They were basically missing an arm or a leg. Use the Dragon Ball to kill him. His weapon is too strong. We can't stop it. The Azure Stone Dragon, who had always been successful, unexpectedly encountered a terrifying opponent like Li Zongjiu. Moreover, they relied on their strong physical strength the most. However, in front of the sword in Li Zongjiu's hand, it was as weak as tofu. Li Zongjiu's sword easily penetrated their bodies. They didn't have the slightest strength to resist. Now that they had no choice, they had to use the power of the Dragon Ball. The so-called Dragon Ball was, in fact, the internal elixir that they cultivated. However, after using the internal elixir, it was a very dangerous action. Although the power was very strong, once the internal elixir was destroyed, it would take hundreds or thousands of years to repair it. Now that they were at the end of the road, if they didn't use their ultimate move, they would be killed by Li Zongjiu. Immediately, the green-clothed visitor's uncle exerted all his strength and opened his mouth. A ray of light bloomed from his mouth. When a dragon used the Dragon Ball, the others also needed to protect it from the side. When the Dragon Ball was spat out, its blazing power attracted Li Zongjiu. You actually cultivated an internal elixir. You are quite talented. Li Zongjiu's figure swayed. He actually rushed to the front of the Dragon Ball. Then he stretched out his hand, trying to grab the Dragon Ball in his hand. Idiot! The Dragon Ball contains thousands of years of my cultivation. You want to grab it with one hand? He actually grabbed it. The latter's eyes widened. This was because Li Zongjiu directly grabbed the Dragon Ball in his hand. It was as easy as picking up a pebble from a stream. My Dragon Ball contains thousands of years of cultivation. Just the power that it emits is like a fire in the hand. How could he grab the Dragon Ball without any damage? Although it was more dangerous to damage the Dragon Ball, it wasn't necessarily an easy thing to do. As for whether it was easy or not, it wasn't a problem for Li Zongjiu. Your Dragon Ball is very bad. It can't even cultivate innate chi? Li Zongjiu took the Dragon Ball and looked at it, then said with disdain. When Li Zongjiu killed the 4 supremes of the Dragon Clan, he saw the power of the Dragon Ball. The innate chi in it was also very powerful. If it wasn't for Li Zongjiu's strength, he wouldn't have been able to resist it. However, Li Zongjiu didn't use the Dragon Ball in his previous life. After all, Li Zongjiu only took the opponent's soul power. Innate chi. Innate your sister. Hearing Li Zongjiu's ridicule, the blue-clothed visitor's uncle almost vomited blood. Did you hear what this guy said? Was he speaking human language? He worked hard for thousands of years to condense a Dragon Ball. Not only was he ridiculed by Li Zongjiu for not having attributes, but he also ridiculed for not having innate chi. This damn innate chi could only be possessed by the 4 supremes of the Dragon Clan. Moreover, every breath of innate chi was passed down from top to bottom. It wasn't cultivated by oneself. It was impossible for him to cultivate it. The 4 supremes of the Dragon Clan could become true supremes because of this innate chi. The supremes of the Dragon Clan. The Greenstone Dragon was just a very small branch of the Dragon Clan on Dragon Island. Naturally, there was no innate chi. Chapter 1405. Only the Supreme of the Dragon Clan could possess the innate chi. But how did this guy know about it? It didn't matter what Li Zongjiu knew. Now that the Dragon Ball was in Li Zongjiu's hands, it meant that his life was in Li Zongjiu's hands. Stop. Let's talk things out. We are not irreconcilable enemies. Let's talk things out. The uncle of the blue-clothed visitor hurriedly said to Li Zongjiu. The remaining 2 couples looked at the 3 corpses on the ground. Wasn't this irreconcilable enemies? 3 of them were already dead. However, the most important thing right now is obviously to get the Dragon Ball back. Otherwise, his 1,000 years of cultivation would really be ruined. Oh, you are so easy to talk to. It seems that this thing is related to your life. Li Zongjiu seemed to be tossing marbles. The other party's eyes were also fixed on the Dragon Ball in Li Zongjiu's hands. My Sky Marshal boat still needs a few people to pull the carriage. You will do. Li Zongjiu said. Pull the carriage? He was an elder of the Greenstone Dragon bloodline. How could it be to pull a carriage for an insignificant human like you? Although this was a high-class flying boat, it didn't mean that he, a member of the Dragon Clan, could do something that only an inferior race would do. It was an insult to him. You don't want to. I don't know if my sword can break this Dragon Ball. Do you want to try? Li Zongjiu said. At the same time, he waved the unparalleled sword in his hand. He seemed to be ready to cut the Dragon Ball down to see if his sword was faster, or the Dragon Ball was harder. Don't, the uncle hurriedly said. His eyes were fixed on the Dragon Ball. They had all experienced the power of Li Zongjiu's unparalleled sword. If the other party's unparalleled sword slashed at the Dragon Pearl, even if it couldn't cut the Dragon Pearl in half, at least it wouldn't be a problem to crack it. Even if there was a small crack, it would be enough to make him lose vitality. Big brother, you are too spineless. The 2 of us will kill him for you, and snatch the Dragon Ball back for you. The first uncle had completely lost his will to fight, and became a puppet in Li Zongjiu's hands. Because of the Dragon Balls, the couple looked at each other and exchanged glances. It wagged its tail and quickly fled towards the horizon. Boom! When the 2 of them escaped, they appeared to be very carefree. Don't worry, big brother. I will definitely find someone to save you and destroy this guy. Clearly, even the Dragon Clan knew to run away when they couldn't win. After all, everyone's life was precious. Even the dragon race wanted to survive. They didn't want to be killed so easily. Compared to having his cultivation crippled, it was better to preserve his life. Although he looked a little pathetic, at least he was able to keep his life. Go. Li Zongjiu never said that. He wanted them to leave. The unparalleled sword flew out of his hand, and his figure rushed out quickly. It instantly pierced through the bodies of the two bluestone dragons. It cut the bluestone dragon cleanly in half. Even the remaining part of his body flew forward for quite a distance before falling from the sky. He killed 2 people in one strike. The unparalleled sword circled in the sky a few times and finally flew back to Li Zongjiu's side. Why are you running? You are going to die anyway. What's the point of running? Since they had disturbed Li Zongjiu's fishing, there was no way to keep them alive. Even if Li Zongjiu agreed, the fishing rod in his hand wouldn't. The first uncle of the bluestone dragon immediately looked at Li Zongjiu and the unparalleled sword that was circling around Li Zongjiu. He widened his eyes. Killed in one strike. Was he playing around just now? Could it be that the bitter battle that Li Zongjiu had shown just now was just to tease them? This was really too much. He actually did such a thing. I will do whatever you want me to do, evil lord. The bluestone dragon directly lowered his noble head. Li Zongjiu nodded. At least you know what's good for you. Lend me this dragon ball for a few days. Here. Li Zongjiu directly took the dragon ball. He didn't intend to return the dragon ball. Moreover, the dragon ball in his hand might have a very magical effect if it was used to refine pills. The bluestone dragon's face suddenly became bitter. He didn't have the dragon ball in his body. His cultivation wasn't even half of his usual. Now, not only did he lose the dragon ball, but he also had to pull the flying boat for Li Zongjiu. However, to be able to keep his life, this loss of dignity was worth it. Of course, the bluestone dragon also had a little thought in his heart. As long as he had the chance, he would immediately turn over and bite Li Zongjiu to death. At the same time, he would take back his dragon ball. Anyway, his lifespan was so long. Sooner or later, he would have the chance to take back his dragon ball. Li Zongjiu didn't know what the bluestone dragon in front of him was planning. However, even if it was the bluestone dragon, it wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. Why didn't he see any trace of the bluestone dragon when he killed his way to Dragon Island? In fact, Dragon Island itself was very big. At that time, the Dragon Clan's experts could be said to have painstakingly sent Dragon Island to the sky. Therefore, the size of Dragon Island itself was also very big. Li Zongjiu had been there once. At least, it was similar to the wilderness. Moreover, the most shocking thing was that the Dragon Island itself was in the sky. If one wanted to find the island, they couldn't just fly to the sky. They had to use an extremely powerful secret formation to completely conceal the Dragon Island. At that time, Li Zongjiu had spent a lot of effort to find Dragon Island. But now, these guys on Dragon Island actually took the initiative to set foot in the mainland. This made Li Zongjiu somewhat surprised. It seemed that the trajectory of the previous life was indeed very different from the current one. Is there any expert in your Dragon Clan? Otherwise, just relying on the 4 great supremes, they wouldn't dare to do such a thing. When Li Zongjiu landed, he also asked Bluestone Dragon at the side. Bluestone Dragon was stunned when he heard this. How did this guy know the secret of Dragon Clan? Who was this Li Zongjiu? Who was he? How did he know so much about Dragon Clan's secret? Obviously, he wasn't simple. However, in fact, Li Zongjiu wasn't interested in the secret of Dragon Clan. If these people wanted to stir up trouble, they could do it. But they shouldn't have brought trouble to Li Zongjiu. Now, they had to bring trouble to Li Zongjiu. According to Li Zongjiu's temper, how could he spare them? Bluestone Dragon stammered, unwilling to reveal this secret. However, Li Zongjiu wasn't interested at all. He just casually asked. After landing, Li Zongjiu directly waved his hand at Do Su and said, "Patriarch Do, please help me make a rope trap." After saying that, he casually waved his hand and summoned the Sky Marshal boat. It just so happens that this Bluestone Dragon can pull my Sky Marshal boat. Now that he was powerful, some of the things that he had thought of before could be realized. Therefore, Li Zongjiu didn't mind showing off some of his tricks. After all, he had nothing to do. Do Su and the others couldn't believe their eyes. Later, when they heard Li Zongjio's words, they couldn't believe their ears even more. What did he mean? He wanted to use this bluestone dragon as a tool to pull the carriage. Chapter 1406. After Li Zongjio gave his instructions, he continued fishing. Qi Yanran had gone to the Sunset City, so it was basically safe. Moreover, there were so many elders of the Sparrow Divine Palace. As long as the 4 supremes of the Dragon Clan didn't make a move, the 3 elders of Sparrow God Palace and the Wind Thunder Condor would be able to take care of all their enemies. The Dragon Clan might be powerful, but that was only relative. In Li Zongjio's eyes, the Dragon Clan was just SAO. Li Zongjio was able to do it in his previous life. In this life, it was as easy as catching a chicken. It was hard to believe that the legendary dragon race was so easy in Li Zongjio's hands. It was even easier than catching a caterpillar. Although the Du family was surprised, they had many good craftsmen. Therefore, they immediately set out to make a suitable rope and observe Li Zongjio's sky martial boat. The Great Wu Empire had spent a great deal of effort to add many new functions to the sky martial boat. Even the interior decorations of the sky martial boat had been meticulously selected. It was a top-notch existence in all aspects. Therefore, when the Du family fumbled around and saw such a luxurious sky martial boat, they felt an unbearable itch in their hearts. However, no matter how flashy the sky martial boat was, it was not as flashy as the green stone dragon that was pulling the sky martial boat. Because Li Zongjio had taken away the green stone dragon's dragon pearl, the green stone dragon could only endure Li Zongjio's manipulation. Even Qing Shilong couldn't leave his dragon pearl too far away during this period of time. Otherwise, his strength would gradually disappear. Therefore, it could only obey Li Zongjio's orders. Originally, there were only a few of them in the green stone dragon bloodline. It was already good enough that they could continue to exist. The rest might exist on the Dragon Island, but they were not under his control. Qian Hanyu was also quite alert. After the previous commotion, they immediately became vigilant. Li Zongjio waited bitterly for a long time, but there was no response. Suddenly, Li Zongjio had a flash of inspiration. He used a rope to tie up the green stone dragon's dragon pearl. Then he threw it into the heavenly cold lake. If the green stone dragon knew that Li Zongjio was using its dragon pearl to fish, it would probably have the heart to kill itself. It would be willing to die in front of Li Zongjio without a second thought. It was too insulting to his dignity. That was a dragon pearl, not fish feed. However, it also proved that Li Zongjio's dragon pearl's dragon's dragon pearl. The 1,000 chill fish in the heavenly chill lake could resist the temptation of the fish feed, but they could not resist the temptation of the dragon pearl. They immediately wagged their tails crazily and rushed toward the dragon pearl in Li Zongjio's hand. The dragons pearl dragons of fish dragon sa fish dragon to fish. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Li Zongjio had already caught 20 fish. Although these 1,000 cold fish were a little smart, they could not hold their bottom line in front of such a temptation. They immediately threw themselves at dragon, cutting off their own escape route. These 1,000 cold fish were sparkling and translucent, as if they were ice cubes. They were displayed in front of dragon's eyes. Li Zongjio only observed them for a while to satisfy the pleasure of fishing. Then, he threw the 1,000 cold fish back into the lake. It seems that fishing will be much easier in the future. Li Zongjio held the dragon pearl in his hand. This was the biggest use of the dragon pearl that Li Zongjio had discovered so far. Li Zongjio also tried fishing like this. He was in a good mood. With such a powerful tool, he could be said to be successful in his future endeavors. After finishing his work, he realized that Du Su had been waiting outside the heavenly cold lake for a long time. What's the matter? Is the rope trap ready? Seeing Du Su waiting here, Li Zongjio asked curiously. Did this guy have nothing to do? Why was he so free every day? It's like this. Previously, the cloud-top heavenly palace sent someone to send an invitation. Ling said that the name sounded familiar, so I thought to ask Lord Evil Lord if you're interested in participating. As he spoke, Du Su handed over a red invitation card with gold embossed on it. Cloudtop Heavenly Palace? Li Zhongjie heard that the name sounded familiar. If that was the case, if Kuan Erishur was not dead, he should be in the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. What happy occasion! The Cloudtop Heavenly Palace's sect master gave birth to a second child? As Li Zhongjie spoke, he flipped open the invitation card in his hand and read the content written on it. Immediately his face darkened. Interesting. The invitation in his hand was for the wedding of the young palace master of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace and the personal disciple of the Supreme Elder of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace, Shuiyu. It was very interesting. Shuiyu was Kuan Arashi's woman. Back then, in order to allow Kuan Erishur to grow quickly, Li Zhongjie gave him the idea to take the initiative to pursue Shuiyu. If he entered the Eldritch world, it would be difficult for him to make a name for himself. Only in the Eldritch world would he have more opportunities. If the invitation said that it was for the wedding of Kuan Erishur and Shuiyu, it would be normal. But now, it seemed that his good brother was not welcome. As for Shuiyu's words, Li Zhongjie naturally did not believe that she would abandon Kuan Erishur. Li Zhongjie certainly wanted to find out the reason. If Shuiyu was really arrogant and did not take Kuan Erishur seriously, then Li Zhongjie would not be polite to her. Let's go. Let's go. This Cloudtop Heavenly Palace is really daring. Li Zhongjie's eyes released a trace of murderous intent. If he wanted to destroy the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace, Li Zhongjie could destroy it with a slap. Ask Ling, or if she wants to go. If she met Lan Kuan, they were all former friends after all, so Do Ling, should also be interested. The wedding was tomorrow. As the top sect in the Eldritch world, the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace's young palace master's wedding could be said to be a big event in the Eldritch world. The Cloudtop Heavenly Palace had invited all the famous sects in the Eldritch world. As one of the few families that had been passed down from generation to generation, it was very normal for the Du family to receive an invitation. The invitation was even sent over early in the morning. But at that time, the Du family was fighting with the Tan family. If Du Ling, had not seen Shuiyu's name on the invitation, she probably would not have kept the invitation. The Cloudtop Heavenly Palace was powerful, but the Du family might not give them face. Whether they went or not depended on their mood. Now that Li Zhongjie had made the decision, they had to go. Okay, I'll send someone to prepare. Now that the Du family was able to survive the attack of the Dragon Clan, and Li Zhongjie was here to take care of the Dragon Clan's helpers, they naturally did not care about the Tan family. Now the Tan family was also panicking, because the Do family had directly invited an expert like Li Zhongjie. It would be very easy for them to destroy the Tan family. Moreover, it was only a matter of time before he did so. Therefore, the Tan family could be said to be in a precarious situation. It was said that the Du family had directly subdued a green stone dragon. Was there a mistake? Could the Dragon Clan be subdued? In the sky above the Sky Suspension Mountain, the green stone dragon's body was covered with a tiger skin cover. The cover was connected with 2 long chains. At the same time, a few bayonets were installed on the Sky Marshal ship. The green stone dragon had officially become the divine beast that pulled the carriage. It was just that using a dragon to do such a thing was indeed a little shocking. Just by looking at it, one could tell that it was quite impressive. When the Du family's craftsmen finished assembling all of this, they could not believe their eyes. This thing should be called a dragon boat. A flying boat pulled by a dragon. They had never seen such a big thing in their lives. Just thinking about it was something that they did not dare to imagine. The Du family's Du Su, Du Tianhe, Du Ling, and some other young disciples were brought out to see the world. The rest were left to take care of the family. Li Zhongjie also left the Wind Thunder Condor behind. It kept circling in the sky as a guard in the air. Let's go and see how capable this Cloudtop Palace is. Li Zhongjie immediately landed on the Sky Marshal ship. The other members of the Du clan also boarded the airship one after another. Looking at the Cyan Stone Dragon clan, that almost exterminated their Du clan. But now, they were reduced to pulling airships. This kind of shock made them feel indescribable, as if they were dreaming. The things in their dreams had all come true at this time. Should I prepare a small leather whip? Li Zhongjiu looked at his empty hand. Of course it was just a joke. With a command, the green stone dragon, who had never pulled a flying boat in his life, pulled the sky marshal ship behind him and rushed into the sky. At first it was a little shaky, but later, it became more and more stable. Sure enough, the green stone dragon was very talented. Pulling a sky marshal ship was nothing to the green stone dragon's strength. It could be done easily. Therefore, it was the first time the Du family members sat on a dragon boat and traveled in the sky. Boom! Chapter 1407. Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. In the central region of the Eldritch Land, there was a tall mountain that pierced through the sea of clouds. At the peak of the mountain, there was a magnificent palace. Every day, when a golden sun rose, it would shine on the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. To be able to build a sect in such a place, it was enough to show the strength of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. At such a high altitude, it was very strenuous just to climb up. Some ferocious birds would often fly across the sky. However, these ferocious meta beasts could only fly around the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. They did not dare to come close. Today, the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace was filled with purple chi from the east. There were countless rays of light that illuminated the world. Today the palace was full of guests. Countless guests came by riding on auspicious clouds. They also prepared a lot of gifts. At the gate of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace, the fifth elder, Yin Zhonghe, was welcoming the guests. Everyone who came was a guest. Some of them were very honorable guests. If he did not treat them well, it would be troublesome. However, this was also a troublesome matter. Therefore, as the fifth elder, Yin Zhonghe personally received the guests. Firstly, it showed the importance of the guests. Secondly, it showed the strength of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. The one riding on the flying divine tiger is the divine tiger sect. The overall strength of the sect is just below us. It should not be ignored. You must remember. Yin Zhonghe softly preached to the disciples behind him. This time, Yin Zhonghe had brought a few of his most valued disciples with him. The most talented one was the blue-clothed woman in front of him, Su Mei. In such a gathering of important people, it was a kind of experience. When it came to guiding the newcomers, whether or not they could be on the stage depended on whether or not their master would guide them. As soon as he finished speaking, the flying divine tiger sect's flying divine tiger landed on the ground. Boom! A terrifying aura filled the air. 3 people also jumped down from the flying divine tiger. It was the divine tiger sect's master, Yuan Tianhu. The other 2 young men were his disciples. They were brought along to see the world. The divine tiger sect did not have many members. After all, their sect's martial arts were not suitable for everyone. Hence, they had high requirements for the selection of disciples. I didn't expect sect master Yuan to come personally. Your presence brings light to my humble Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. Yin Zhonghe stepped forward and said. He led the disciples to greet them. The other party's strength was not weak. Of course, they had to welcome them properly. Yin Zhonghe, don't be so humble. Your Cloudtop Heavenly Palace is probably going to produce a venerable soon, right? It's not that easy to reach the realm of supremacy. There are less than 10 of them in the entire wilderness. Yin Zhonghe also sighed. On the other hand, sect leader Yuan's sky-dominating divine tiger fist has already reached the peak of perfection. Even if it's the might of an honorable, you should be able to take it head-on, right? You're still the best at bootlicking. You 2 idiots. Hurry up and greet Elder Yin Zhonghe. Yuan Tianhu immediately slapped the heads of the 2 disciples and reprimanded them. The Cloudtop Heavenly Palace is filled with beauties. If you don't let Elder Yin introduce the 2 of you, you 2 will be single for 10,000 years. Yuan Tianhu scolded. These 2 idiots only knew how to cultivate. Their strength had indeed increased, but if they couldn't solve the other half of the problem, how could they continue the divine tiger sect's lineage? They were simply disappointing. Junior greets Elder Yin. The 2 idiots hurriedly stepped forward and greeted him. Su Mei, who was at the side, also smiled slightly and stepped forward. Senior brothers, you must be tired from the journey. Please come in and rest. Look at his disciples. They're so well-mannered. Look at you 2 bastards. Yuan Tianhu seemed to be the type who had a bad temper. He scolded the two disciples harshly. Even in such an occasion, he did not hold back at all. On the other hand, Su Mei, who was polite, generous, and dignified, attracted a lot of attention. Then we'll go in first. Yuan Tianhu gestured to the flying divine tiger behind him. The flying divine tiger was a top-notch soul beast. Its strength was at the realm of a 5th-grade sovereign. But after the flying divine tiger got up and walked 2 steps, it actually fell to the ground with a plop. Its eyes were filled with ferocity. Its expression seemed to be extremely unwilling, but it couldn't get up no matter how hard it tried. Roar! What's going on? Even for Yuan Tianhu, it was his first time seeing the flying divine tiger in such a state. He hurriedly squatted in front of the flying divine tiger and asked about the situation. However, the flying divine tiger was feeling extremely uncomfortable. Suddenly, Yuan Tianhu had a feeling of extreme shock. Because of the flying divine tiger's current performance, it had met a soul beast of a higher level, so it was intimidated by the other party. What kind of soul beast could be so arrogant? Even the flying divine tiger, a 5th-grade sovereign, was suppressed to the point that it couldn't breathe. Master! At this moment, Su Mei raised her head and looked at the horizon. There was a figure that was gradually enlarging. The other party was shuttling through the clouds. His movements were filled with dominance. It wasn't just a simple dominance. Under this aura, everyone also felt an indescribable deterrence. At first, this figure was still quite far away. However, as it got closer, Yun Zhonghe's eyes suddenly widened. As if he had seen something incredible, his eyes were filled with shock. Yuan Tianhu and the others also saw this figure. As it got closer, Yuan Tianhu also burst into an inconceivable shock. How is this possible? The origin energy in Yun Zhonghe's body couldn't help but tremble. Under this situation, this meant that the person who came had an unparalleled aura. It's a dragon. Dragon clan? Their eyes didn't see wrong. And judging from the aura, they were absolutely right. However, it was such a dragon clan. Moreover, the dragon clan in front of them seemed to be used as a coolie to pull a carriage. What exactly was the situation? Could it be that some legendary almighty ran to Dragon Island and enslaved a dragon clan? When this dragon boat appeared in the sky, Yun Zhonghe and the others were not the only ones who felt this. Even some of the guests who were already in the sect could feel this overbearing aura. Even the palace master of Yending Heavenly Palace, Yun Qian, he also showed up in person. Yun Qian was still in the sect, chatting with the big shots in the untainted land. Today, there were no less than 29th-grade supreme beings. This also showed the powerful strength in the untainted land. However, there wasn't a single honorable. This dragon boat? Yun Qian couldn't help but ask. It was really too shocking. Beside Yun Qian, there was a young man who looked very similar to Yun Qian. This person was the main character today, the young palace master, Yun Qi. I'm not sure. Yun Zhonghe didn't remember that there was such an almighty in the untainted land. Even if there was, their Yending Heavenly Palace might not be able to invite him. Boom! The dragon boat landed with a loud crash. An ancient and majestic aura suddenly filled the air. The green stone dragon was full of resentment. So during this process, it didn't restrain its aura at all, and directly released its aura. Therefore, the origin beasts that came along the way were basically in a state of trembling. Chapter 1408. Yun Qian and the others stood together, watching the huge dragon boat descend. Su Mei and the others stared intently at the flying boat. Just what kind of divine being could actually make a dragon do such manual labor? Du Su and the others jumped off the flying boat. Li Zhongjiu followed behind them and did not stand out. This was what Li Zhongjiu had told him. This time, Li Zhongjiu wanted to keep a low profile and see how Kuan Erishur was treated in the Cloud Top Heavenly Palace. When Li Zhongjiu arrived at the Cloud Top Heavenly Palace, he used his mental strength to search. At least, he was sure that Kuan Erishur was still alive. Since Li Zhongjiu's life was not in danger, anything could be solved. It was normal for young people to suffer setbacks and hardships. Only by going through trials and tribulations could one truly become a powerhouse. Wasn't Li Zongjie the same way back then? The only difference was that he didn't have to endure irreversible pain, such as the loss of a blood relative. As for the rest, whether it was physical torture or mental pain, he had to try it, tempering into steel. Otherwise, with Li Zongjie's ability, he could easily make Kuan Erasure an expert. However, if one wanted to become an existence at the peak, a true transcendent existence, he had to endure the pain. When Yunqian saw Du Su, his eyes lit up. Wasn't that his old acquaintance Du Su? The head of the Du family. His cultivation was not weak, and the Du family was a true aristocratic family with an inheritance. It was rare in the world. But now the Du family could enslave the dragon tribe? This was a little unbelievable. It was even deeply inconceivable. There must be a mistake. However, no matter what kind of fortuitous encounter the Du family had, the green stone dragon pulling the flying boat had displayed absolutely terrifying power. No one dared to ignore it. It was said that the Du family and the Tan family were fighting recently. Therefore, Yunqian didn't expect the Du clan to come and participate. But now, looking at the terrifying lineup in front of them, it was likely that the Tan family wouldn't have a good ending either. They didn't know what they ate to have the guts to actually dare to make such a stupid challenge and become enemies with the Du family. Don't end up in such a miserable state. I was wondering who was so high-spirited. So it's the Du family head. My cloud-top heavenly palace is filled with the heavenly dragon energy of Clan Master Du. Yunqian hurriedly went up to him. Originally, Yunqian didn't need to personally receive the Du family head. After all, his strength was there for all to see. But they all came riding on dragons. How could he not go up? After a while, this dragon would casually spit out 2 mouthfuls of flames and casually swing its tail, and it would directly tear down your cloud-top heavenly palace. Cloud-top heavenly palace's joyous occasion. How can we be absent? Du Su also laughed heartily. Seeing that even Yunqian had come to welcome him personally, he was naturally elated. After all, Yunqian himself was a 9th-grade supreme martial artist, and was only 1 step away from entering the honorable realm. It was precisely because of the 3 honorables that the Sparrow God Palace was able to stand tall in the untainted land for tens of thousands of years. This showed how terrifying the strength of the honorables was. Even in his previous life, Li Zongjie, who had already reached the honorable realm, didn't become enemies with the Sparrow God Palace back then. The main reason was that Li Zongjie wasn't interested in these guys back then. If you don't provoke me, I won't provoke you. Or maybe the Sparrow God Palace had already been destroyed by Tian Yi of the Heavenly Demon tribe back then. No matter what the situation was, it was hard to say. But at least that kind of situation wouldn't happen now. It was naturally a very honorable thing to have a prospective honorable come to welcome him. So it's the Du family head. This dragon? Where did you get it? Yuan Tianhu said with an aggrieved face. Big brother Du Su, look at how scared my tiger is. Look. Flying Tiger naturally couldn't raise his head in front of the green stone dragon. He even crouched down even lower. His whole body was trembling, as if his sturdy body was about to crack. Du Su glanced at the flying divine tiger. This tiger of yours is the one from a few hundred years ago, right? It's already so old, but you still bring it out every day to show off. Du Su said without holding back. He didn't give Yuan Tianhu any face. After all, the 2 of them were more straightforward. But now, Du Su possessed great strength and had such mysterious means. Therefore, when he reprimanded Yuan Tianhu didn't dare to say a word. Obviously, he was very low-key and aggrieved. Where can I get it? They all pretended to inadvertently turn their heads and look at Li Zongjie's face. In fact, this bluestone dragon belonged to Li Zongjie. They were just a fox exploiting the tiger's might, nothing more. Now that they had a taste of their mouths, everything was fine. If they continued, the evil dominator might get angry. It's getting late. We're all waiting to attend the wedding. Du Su saw that Li Zongjie's expression didn't change, so he knew what to do. Yes. Please come in. Sorry for the inhospitality. Yunqian hurriedly said. After chatting for a long time, they didn't get anything out of Du Su. Of course, it was a little rude to let the distinguished guests wait outside for so long. Welcome to my wedding. Yunqi stepped forward at this moment. He was dressed neatly and had a big red flower pinned on his chest. At a glance, one could tell that he was today's main character. So this is what he looks like. I thought he would be handsome. Du Ling'er whispered beside Li Zongjio. Moreover, Du Ling'er was holding a snow-white fox in her arms. Li Zongjio helped her catch it on the way. This fox was very rare. Du Ling'er liked it very much at first sight. Although Du Ling'er was whispering, the experts present could hear her clearly. Now that Du Ling'er had Li Zongjio as her backer, even Du Tianhe didn't dare to scold her too much. Instead, Li Zongjio spoke. Girl, don't talk nonsense. You can't humiliate others just because they are dressed like a rooster. Li Zongjio's words were righteous, and his expression was quite decent. His voice wasn't soft either. At least, it was quite harsh to Yunqi's ears. And it was quite heart-wrenching. Yunqi immediately looked over with a ferocious gaze. However, he saw Li Zongjio's provocative gaze. It was obvious that he was here to provoke them. However, Yunqi frowned because he didn't know the person in front of him. Where did the hostility come from? Yun Qian took a glance and memorized Li Zongjio's appearance in his heart. However, he came with the Du family after all. Therefore, Yun Qian temporarily gave the Du family face and pretended that he didn't hear anything. Haha, please come in, please come in. He still welcomed them with a smile. Du Su couldn't say that he heard Li Zongjio's mockery. Adults were like this. They pretended to be deaf and mute and walked into the sect together. Sume carefully looked at Li Zongjio. Although Li Zongjio looked like a junior brought by the Du family, in fact, Li Zongjio seemed to be the backbone of these people. Moreover, the Du family's head had to look at Li Zongjio's expression before making a decision. If she wasn't wrong, this was indeed the case. Moreover, Li Zongjio didn't have the restraint of a junior. In addition, her woman's intuition told her that Li Zongjio wasn't a simple person. Everyone entered the sect together. The flying divine tiger couldn't move at all. In the end, Yuan Tianhu asked 2 disciples to carry the flying divine tiger in. After all, the flying divine tiger was lying on the ground and couldn't move at all. The Qing Shilong was also left outside by Li Zongjio. Originally, Du Ling'er wanted to find some pork bones for the Qing Shilong to eat. After all, the Qing Shilong was just a pitiful little thing now. However, the Qing Shilong bared his teeth. I'm from the Dragon Clan. You're actually treating me like a dog. That's too much. Therefore, Du Ling'er gave up on this idea. The wedding was held in the joyous palace square. At the very front was the guest stand. Below and to the left and right were lower tables. The tables were filled with fine wine and delicacies. Originally, the seats reserved for the Du family were in the middle. Now that he had brought a dragon with him, he hurriedly arranged for a table at the front. Although the rest of the elders were unhappy, they didn't dare to act up. They didn't know what was going on, so it was better for them to sit down obediently. Li Zongjio didn't sit at the very front with the Du family. Instead, he casually chose an empty table and sat down with Du Ling'er. Chapter 1409. Yending Heavenly Palace Disciple Pavilion. Kuan Erishur polished his 1,000 slaughter sword until it was incomparably bright. Back then, Li Zongjio gave this 1,000 slaughter sword to Kuan Erishur. But in fact, Kuan Erishur rarely used this 1,000 slaughter sword in his hand. In fact, Kuan Erishur rarely used the elixirs that Li Zongjio gave him. Everything depended on his own cultivation. After breaking through all kinds of thorns and difficulties in the untainted land, he finally came to Yending Heavenly Palace. But in fact, Kuan Erishur had only joined Yending Heavenly Palace for half a year. But in this half a year, Kuan Erishur did not see Shuiyu even once. A month ago, there was a martial arts competition in the sect. In the arena, Kuan Erishur finally met Shuiyu, but he found that Shuiyu did not seem to recognize Kuan Erishur at all. In order to be able to talk to Shuiyu, he was forced to endure and was continuously injured by Shuiyu. Originally, he thought that he still had time. Something must have happened to Shuiyu, and he had enough time to investigate it. But in just a short month, the wedding of Shuiyu and Yunqi was announced. If Shuiyu really had a change of heart, then Kuan Erishur had nothing to say. After all, There was no way to force things like feelings. If the other party was not willing, there was nothing he could do. But Kuan Erasure could vaguely see it. Shueihua seemed to be in a state of absent-mindedness. Therefore, the things she said before were not valid. Kuan Erasure did not believe that Shueihua would have a change of heart. The relationship of this young couple could be considered very bumpy. Kuan Erasure became more and more frustrated. Kuan Erasure, are you really going to do it at the wedding? In the world, he had never heard of such a crazy thing. This matter was not so simple. Once it blew up, it could be said that it would be quite crazy and dangerous. At the door, a young man wearing a white hat with a straw in his mouth leaned against the door with his hands in front of him. He lazily looked at Kuan Erasure in front of him. When he saw the Thousand Slaughter sword in Kuan Arashi's hand, his eyes suddenly flashed. He was obviously flashed by the sword. My big brother taught me not to be afraid of the consequences. Kuan Erasure carried the Thousand Slaughter sword on his back. Xiang Fei, you'd better not go to the square. I'm afraid of accidentally hurting you. You're also my friend. Long Kuan came to Xiang Fei's side and patted him on the shoulder. Actually, I didn't like Yunqi's a Yunqi. How can you not have a helper when you're making such a big fuss? Besides, you saved my life. Xiang Fei said. If it wasn't for Kuan Arashi's help in the chaotic forest, Xiang Fei would have been a dead man. Therefore, Xiang Fei had already made up his mind. Since Kuan Erasure was ready to die, Xiang Fei was not a coward. Although this was disobeying his sect, Xiang Fei always felt that the higher-ups of Yending Heavenly Palace were not clean. I have a boundary bead here. I'll draw everyone's attention. You go to your woman and crush it. It can buy you at least 30 seconds. You can see each other one last time. Xiang Fei personally handed a treasure of his to Kuan Erasure. It was indeed a life-saving treasure. No matter what, if he went through this today, he probably wouldn't be able to survive. Kuan Erasure glanced at Xiang Fei. Why do you want to die? I alone am enough. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Go. Even if you fail, you must let the world remember you. Xiang Fei said. He turned around and took the lead to walk to the square. Li Zhongjiu and Turan Air were sitting in front of a table. The people around them were also discussing with each other. Yin Qi, the son of Regal Cloud Palace Master, is really doing well recently. He won the first place in the 6th sect martial competition held a while ago. I heard that this woman called Shueihua is even more powerful. She was the undisputed first place in Yending Heavenly Palace's martial competition. Moreover, she has a Yin elemental body. She's a perfect match for dual cultivation. No wonder she's in such a hurry to get married. Isn't that so? If that's the case, the next palace master will definitely be Yun Qi. What a perfect match, a perfect match. That's right. I think Yending Heavenly Palace's purple qi is coming from the east. It's going to lead the trend. Everyone started to flatter him as well. Is that so? How come I don't see a perfect match? In my opinion, that young palace master is just a stupid cunt. Li Zhongjiu poured a cup of wine, took a sip and said slowly. Ling who was next to him, also imitated him and poured a cup, but she choked on it. Li Zhongjiu took the cup from Turan Air's hand. Drink juice. The people who were still discussing turned to look at Li Zhongjiu, who was sitting at the back. Brother, your words are a little too much. How can you say that on someone's wedding day? Several people saw that Li Zhongjiu and Turan Air were sitting in a very low-key corner. Most importantly, from the way they dressed, they couldn't tell which sect Li Zhongjiu was from. Therefore, they didn't dare to speak too harshly. If they accidentally offended Li Zhongjiu, they wouldn't have a good ending even if they got on the good side of Yending Heavenly Palace. Therefore, he appeared to be even more low-key, and only said one sentence very pertinently. I said it. Come and hit me. Li Zhongjiu said bluntly. The other party saw that Li Zhongjiu was young and fierce. If they really fought, there wouldn't be any benefits. Entangling with such a crazy guy would be asking for trouble. Therefore, it was better to keep a low profile and not argue with Li Zhongjiu. That's okay. Turan Air was surprised to see that the other party was so cowardly. She was looking forward to a fight. There was a lot of violence hidden in Turan Air's body. She couldn't wait to fight with people every 2 or 3 days. It was just that she looked more obedient and quiet on the outside. Li Zongjie was not only good at fighting, but also good at talking. The sound of gongs and drums rang in the square. Then hundreds of firecrackers were fired. Even the top cultivation sects in the untainted land used this kind of etiquette inherited from the secular world. Then, the matchmaker led a woman in a phoenix coronet and robe over. She was wearing a red veil. Everyone immediately applauded. Although she was wearing a red veil, Li Zongjie could sense that it was Shueiyue in front of him. However, Shueiyue's condition was very strange. Her aura was very strong, but at the same time, it was extremely restrained. There's a problem. Li Zongjie frowned and said, "What's the problem?" Turner asked. "We'll know after we check." Just as the two were talking, a figure suddenly squeezed into Li Zongjie's table. "Brother, let's share a seat." As he said that, he poured himself a glass of wine. He clinked his glass with Li Zongjie's and drank directly. Of course, Li Zongjie could kill him with one palm. However, Li Zongjie saw that this guy came with Kuan Erishur. At this moment, Kuan Erishur was hiding not far away and staring at this place. Therefore, Li Zongjie simply wanted to see what these two young people were going to do. "We don't know you. It's fine if you sit with us, but how dare you drink our wine?" Seeing Xiang Fei's actions, Turner said angrily, "Wasn't he here to cheat them?" "Hee, my name is Xiang Fei. You're a fairy. Now we know each other." At this moment, the wedding ceremony was already underway on the stage. The officiator read a long speech to prove that the two were a match made in heaven. Just as the wedding ceremony was about to begin, Xiang Fei, who was sitting next to Li Zongjie, suddenly threw the wine pot on the table. With a bang, it hit the candlestick. "I, Xiang Fei, object to this marriage." His voice was loud and clear, but the people who heard it were confused. Yin Qi, who was originally smiling, suddenly froze. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked in Xiang Fei's direction. "What are you looking at, Yin Qi? Don't you know what you're doing? Today I'm going to challenge you." Xiang Fei immediately stood up, and two axes appeared in his hands. The disciples of Yending Heavenly Palace, who were on guard, rushed forward. They surrounded Li Zongjie's table. "All of you back off." "Xiang Fei, what the hell are you doing?" Yin Qi frowned when he saw that it was Xiang Fei who was causing trouble. "Cut the crap. Come on." Xiang Fei knocked on the weapon in his hand. He looked at the person in front of him with disdain. "You're really tired of living." Yin Qi walked toward Xiang Fei. Just as Yin Qi left Water Moon, Kuan Erishur moved. Kuan Erishur jumped up. The Thousand Slaughter sword in his hand slashed toward the reception table. Boom! Chapter 1410. Kuan Arashi's attack could be said to be very unexpected. Moreover, its power was unexpectedly strong. The guests present were not affected, but some of the staff of Yending Heavenly Palace were sent flying. Yin Qi did not expect that Xiang Fei was just luring the tiger away from the mountain. But now it seemed that everything was very reasonable. Sure enough, he was in cahoots with Lan Kuan. Otherwise, such a situation would not have happened. But this guy actually wanted to be a scapegoat. He really thought too highly of himself. "Kuan Erishur, I think you're courting death." Yin Qi immediately tapped his foot. The aura of a 9th-grade primitive emperor was released directly, rushing rapidly towards Kuan Erishur. But in the midst of it, a figure directly blocked it. The one who stepped forward was none other than Xiang Fei. "Let me have a try. You're the strongest of the 6 sections. Do you really think you're the strongest?" Xiang Fei directly spat out the withered grass in his mouth. Boom! 7th-grade primitive emperor. Yending Heavenly Palace was indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. One should know that Xiang Fei was quite low-key before, and did not have any famous battle records. His performance in the sect was only average. But now, he was actually a 7th-grade primitive emperor. Idiot! Yin Qi simply could not be bothered with Xiang Fei. His aura skyrocketed again, breaking through the limit and rushing to the sovereign realm. 2nd-grade sovereign. Xiang Fei's eyes widened, and he was directly sent flying by Yin Qi's palm. Bang! At this moment, Kuan Erishur could not be bothered with Xiang Fei. Holding the Thousand Slaughter sword, he landed in front of Shueiyue. He lifted Shueiyue's head. "Shueiyue, follow me." Kuan Erishur was determined to bring Shueiyue out. When Shueiyue saw Kuan Erishur, there was a trace of astonishment in her eyes. She had seen this person before, during the sect competition, and this guy seemed to have some problem, as he kept talking nonsense to her. However, she felt that the person in front of her was very familiar, but Shueiyue could not recall who it was. Although he had offended Shueiyue in the past, they were still fellow disciples. But today Kuan Arashi's actions were really too much. He actually ruined her wedding. How dare you? Immediately, Shueiyue also let out a low cry. The yuan power circulating in her palm was even denser than Yun Qi's. A palm shot towards Kuan Erishur. Kuan Erishur placed the thousand slaughter sword in front of him. His feet did not move an inch. However, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Palace Master Yun Qian, who was sitting on the stage, could not tolerate such a thing happening again. What Tom, Dick, and Harry actually dared to disturb his son's big day? Humph! He snorted coldly. Immediately, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Seeing that, Kuan Erishur also crushed the spirit formation bead in his hand. Boom! A surge of spirit power enveloped Lan Kuan, and Shueiyue within it. Shueiyue looked at the surrounding spirit power, and immediately wanted to escape. However, she saw Kuan Erishur plunge the thousand slaughter sword into the ground and pounce on Shueiyue, hugging her. It's me. Kuan Arashi's voice rang in Shueiyue's ears. At such a close distance, Shueiyue felt that the depths of her soul had been hit hard. Her heart trembled, and her body stiffened on the spot. In the end, the spirit formation was completed and completely enveloped the two of them. Even Yun Qian could not break through. However, Yun Qian could also see that this was just a very temporary spirit formation. In less than half a minute, it would directly dissipate. You overestimate yourself. Where can you escape to? Yun Qian sneered. Bang! Xiang Fei was naturally put on the ground. More than 10 weapons restrained Xiang Fei. They were all disciples of the sect's law enforcement hall. At this moment, Xiang Fei was also covered in injuries. The battle just now let Xiang Fei know how powerful it was, but it was also a battle to his heart's content. When he saw that Kuan Erishur had completed the spirit formation, a smile hung on the corner of his mouth, and he closed his eyes in satisfaction. Even if he died now, he had completed his task. It seems that Shueiyue doesn't know big brother Kuan Erishur. Dou Ling was not familiar with Shueiyue, but she was quite familiar with Kuan Erishur. At this moment, she saw that Shueiyue attacked Kuan Erishur. She was also quite surprised. Moreover, looking at Shueiyue's appearance, she seemed to be a little abnormal. Someone must have done something to make her become like this. You'll know when you see. Dou Su and the other guests present did not interfere in this matter. This was an internal matter of Aji's sect. It would be solved by itself. There was no need for outsiders to interfere. However, if today's matter was not handled properly, there would be so many people who would laugh at them. Yun Qi did not kill Xiang Fei right away. At his own wedding, he would try his best to avoid bloodshed. Moreover, Xiang Fei had deliberately made such a scene. If he could kill Xiang Fei, then everything would be over. Yun Qi wanted to torture Xiang Fei. Yun Qi wanted to let the world see his methods. Inside the spirit formation, Shueiyue also allowed Kuan Erishur to hug her. She really wanted to push Lan Kuan away, but she couldn't muster the strength to do so. Kuan Erishur originally wanted to use all kinds of methods to awaken Shueiyue's memory. At least, he wanted to make Shueiyue not so unfamiliar. However, at this moment, after Kuan Erishur hugged Shueiyue, he understood. This was the best way. There was no need for other actions. After waiting for 3 whole years, this day had finally come. Although it was just a short 30 seconds. For these 30 seconds, Kuan Erishur had used up too much energy, sacrificed too much, and experienced too many hardships along the way. However, when Kuan Erishur saw Shueiyue's unfamiliar eyes, he was completely defeated. Until this moment, Kuan Erishur knew that he was worthy. Shueiyue seemed to have reacted. She involuntarily raised her hands, wanting to hug Kuan Erishur. However, at this moment, the surrounding spirit formation disappeared. Immediately, Shueiyue's eyes regained their original sharpness. She flipped her palms. Her shoulders shook. Lan Kuan, who was in front of him, was sent flying. Boom! Kuan Erishur fell to the ground. However, Shueyu was merciful. She only used her strength to shake Kuan Erishur off. At this moment, Shueyu seemed to be at a loss. She was also in a dilemma. However, that loss and confusion quickly disappeared. She returned to indifference. Are you alright? Yunsheng came to Shueyu's side. Seeing that Shueyu was safe and sound, he breathed a sigh of relief. However, thinking about it, with Kuan Arashi's strength, being able to survive was already pretty good. He even wanted to forcibly take Shueyu away. Too miserable. In the crowd, Su Wangshan also shook his head. Evidently, he could predict what would happen to Kuan Erishur. In the end, young people were too impulsive. In the end, it led to a disaster. However, it didn't matter. After all, it didn't have much to do with him. He was only here to watch. As he spoke, he also picked up a piece of watermelon on the table. Qinghua also felt extremely helpless as she listened. Master, should we go out and help? What help? These two brats are dead. Su Wangshan shook his head. This time, the Mountain Sea Pavilion was also invited. However, it was obvious that the current strength of the Mountain Sea Pavilion was not as important as before. Otherwise, why would they be arranged in such an inconspicuous position? Kuan Erishur, you have provoked me time and time again. I have endured it. Today is my big day. I will give you a way out. Destroy your own cultivation, and get out of the sect. Yunxing came in front of Kuan Erishur. He said proudly. He looked at Kuan Erishur, as if he was looking at a stray dog on the street. Hehe, if you dare to touch me, you will be dead. Today, I don't mind dying here. When my boss comes back, he will definitely avenge me. All of you from the cloud-top heavenly palace will not be able to escape death. Old thing, you better undo the demonic technique that you used on Shueyu quickly. Then, I can plead for you and ask my boss to spare your lives. Kuan Erishur said with a wild laugh. After what happened just now, Kuan Erishur was certain that Shueyu must have been controlled by the other party's power. At the very least, they used some method to conceal her memory. Ignorant fool. Why don't you call your boss over? Where is your boss? Where is he? Even if he comes, there will only be one more corpse. If you go against the cloud-top heavenly palace, you will only end up dead. Yunsheng suddenly raised the thousand slaughter sword in his hand. He directly stabbed towards Kuan Arashi's dantian. However, just as the sword was about to pierce through Kuan Arashi's dantian, it suddenly stopped. However, it suddenly stopped, as if it had been frozen. Yin Qian's eyes flashed. I am his boss. A faint voice sounded. The people blocking in front of Li Zongjiu also moved aside one after another. Chapter 14:11. Li Zongjiu naturally couldn't wait any longer. Now it seemed that things were clear. These people actually ganged up to bully his brother. They were treating his brother as a fool to bully. Fortunately, he was here today. If he wasn't, wouldn't they kill his brother? Du Su and the others saw Li Zongjiu and Dou Linger stand up. Their hearts skipped a beat. Sure enough, they made a move. It seemed that this Kuan Erishur was a very important person to Senior Evil Lord. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here to watch a show. He came here specifically. However, Du Su didn't do anything. After all, he didn't need to be here for this kind of occasion. Li Zongjiu naturally didn't need Du Su's help. As for Cloudtop Heavenly Palace, they wouldn't help them either. Although Du Su didn't know much about Li Zongjiu, he knew that those who stood against Li Zongjiu wouldn't have a good ending. With Li Zongjiu's means, how could he let these people have a good time? Even if the Dragon Clan of Dragon Island came, they would die. These idiots thought that the Azure Stone Dragon outside belonged to the Du family. But in fact, it belonged to Li Zongjiu. If they were told, they would probably kneel down before Li Zongjiu. It seemed that it was destined from the beginning. The wedding in front of them wouldn't succeed. It wouldn't go well. Kuan Erishur was shocked. Because this voice was very familiar, Kuan Erishur immediately looked over. His eyes were filled with ecstasy. The corners of his eyes gradually became moist. Boss! Yun Qi's body was directly controlled by a powerful force. In such a situation, he couldn't even use any power. Damn it! Yun Qi maintained this posture. His body stiffened on the spot. Turner hurriedly helped Kuan Erishur up from the ground. The law enforcement team of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace did not stop the two of them. Instead, they surrounded the two of them. It was easy to walk out, but it was difficult to walk back. It was a good opportunity to see how many people were still unafraid of death. Hey, you guys have guts. You're Kuan Arashi's big brother? Xiang Fei was also picked up by Do Ling, but now Xiang Fei didn't look handsome at all. He was wounded all over. But when he saw that Do Ling was a beauty, he forced himself to calm down. It's him? Sumei saw Li Zhongjiu and Turner. He hurriedly went to his master, Yun Zhonghe, and said, Master, these two are from the Du clan. Sumei was a little confused. Although Li Zhongjiu interfered in this matter, the Du clan didn't seem to have such intentions. Otherwise, if the Du clan wanted to do this, they wouldn't have come in the name of attending the wedding. In addition, the Du clan had such strength, why did they have to keep a low profile? They could have just come directly. When Yun Zhonghe heard the news, he hurriedly reported it to Yun Qian. Yun Qian was obviously very surprised. If it was before, so what if Li Zhongjiu was related to the Du clan? Since he dared to cause such a big trouble in the territory of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace, he must have eliminated the Du clan as well. But now, the Du clan came directly with a dragon. In that case, this level would be completely different. Yun Qian looked at Du Su, obviously wanting to verify this matter. For the sake of the Du clan, he would let this matter go as long as he brought them back. No need to look around. You're his father, right? Come here. This matter has nothing to do with the Du clan. No one here has the right to interfere in this matter. Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. He directly waved at Yun Qian. His words included everyone present. He was directly saying that no one present had the right to interfere. Many people felt as though they were about to explode from anger when they heard this. What did this brat mean? How dare he say that we don't have the right? All of them were eager to try, as if they wanted to show off their skills in front of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace. But they still held back. Those who thought that they had the strength treated Li Zhongjiu's words as a joke. Those who knew that they were not strong enough still sat there obediently, waiting to be beaten up by the people of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace. This person looks familiar? When Su Wangshan saw Li Zhongjiu, he was also shocked. Although they had not seen each other for a long time, Li Zhongjiu's clothes and appearance did not change much. The most important thing was his arrogant attitude. It had changed a little. He became more arrogant. It's Senior Evil Lord. When Qinghua saw Li Zhongjiu, her eyes instantly widened. It's really him. After seeing him, they also exclaimed. The rest of the people did not know Li Zhongjiu. Therefore, they all looked like they were watching a show. Even if they had heard of Evil Lord's name, they did not take it seriously. In this day and age, who did not have a scary nickname? There were too many like Revered One or Saint One. Therefore, a nickname did not mean anything. Whether one had the real strength or not, they would know by showing it. There was no need to be humble. Now is the time to show his strength. It's that brat. Interesting. When Yuan Tianhu saw him, he took a big bite of the drumstick in his hand. Compared to a wedding, it was more exciting to watch people make a scene. Since Li Zhongjiu also said that this matter had nothing to do with the Du family, it would be easy to solve. Even if Yin Qian killed Li Zhongjiu now, the Du family would not be able to say anything in the future. Very good. You are just a few juniors. How dare you come to my Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace to make trouble? Haha. Tell me who ordered you. I am very curious. Who has the guts to go against my Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace? Yin Qian smiled confidently. Obviously, in his eyes, the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace was an existence that dominated the untainted land. There was nothing to be afraid of. Yin Qian came to Yin Qi's side and wanted to remove the shackles on Yin Qi. However, when he pressed his palm on Yin Qi's body, he realized that the shackles on Yin Qi did not exist. It was not that they did not exist, but that he could not find them. Even if he found them, he could not move them at all. What a strong shackle. Immediately, Yin Qian looked at Li Zhongjiu in shock. Didn't I say that we are all here? How many people do you have in your Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace today? Just call them out. Since we are all going to die, let's die together. Li Zhongjiu waved his hand. He removed the shackles on Yunqi. Two streams of energy entered the bodies of Kuan Erishur and Xiang Fei, helping them recover from their injuries. Brat, take the sword back. Chapter 14:12. With the infusion of Li Zongjiu's energy, the two's injuries immediately improved. Kuan Erishur saw Li Zongjiu appear here. He was so excited that he burst into tears. It was not that he thought that Li Zongjiu would come to save him, but that he would die without regrets if he could see his brother before he died. But if he didn't have to die, that would be even better. You're a good little brother. Li Zongjiu praised Xiang Fei. Xiang Fei felt that his injuries had healed and was amazed. He had never seen such a miraculous method. You're his boss. You're quite amazing. However, we're all going to die here today. Xiang Fei's face was also bitter. So what if his injuries were healed? Now that there were so many people here, they could kill them in minutes. Now they could only hold on for a little longer. Don't worry, Li Zongjiu said with a smile. However, when he looked at Yunqi, he found that Yunqi had no intention of listening to Li Zongjiu at all. Instead, he took the sword in his hand as his own. After all, this sword was quite extraordinary. The Thousand Slaughter Sword. Yunqi and Yunqian both clearly felt the power of the Thousand Slaughter Sword. Although the latter had caused a ruckus at the wedding. However, it directly sent a big gift. It made the two's eyes shine. It was very good to be able to get such a valuable sword. Kid over there, I asked you to bring the sword here. Didn't you hear me? Li Zongjiu repeated. But Yunqi did not seem to care at all. Instead, he looked at Li Zongjiu with a cold gaze. Father, since these people don't know what's good for them, let's just kill them. Yunqi said. The sword in his hand could not wait to start a massacre. However, Yunqi's face changed in the next second. Yunqian also saw the change in Yunqi's expression, and immediately asked. My hand, Yunqi said with difficulty. In the next moment, Yunqi's arm, that was holding the myriad slaughter sword, suddenly flew out with a piercing sound. Bang! Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. The severed arm and the sword fell in front of Li Zongjiu. The myriad slaughter sword was stabbed into the ground. When the crowd saw this scene, an uproar immediately broke out. Yunqi's arm was directly broken by someone. When everyone saw this scene, they felt that it was inconceivable. Su Wangshan and Blue Moon were also watching this scene, with a very excited expression. Tisk tsk tsk. I knew it. The next scene would definitely be exciting. Su Wangshan said while covering his old face. The surrounding guests were all influential people. Naturally, they had seen such a scene before. It was just a broken arm and a broken leg. There was nothing to make a fuss about. However, what surprised them was that it happened in front of Yun Qian. Just like that, he quietly cut off Yunqi's arm. When Yun Zhonghe and the other elders saw this scene, they quickly rushed to Yunqi's side. How dare you hurt someone? You're courting death. Yun Zhonghe and the other elders also attacked Li Zongjiu at the same time. A total of 3 elders attacked. The remaining 10 elders flew out from the side and trapped Li Zongjiu and the others to prevent them from escaping. However, these people couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Li Zongjiu casually swung the myriad slaughter sword in his hand. A ray of sword energy directly sent the 3 figures in front of him flying. Bang! 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 The bodies of the 3 elders directly exploded in the sky like flowers. Crash! Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, and their organs fell to the ground. This time, everyone was completely shocked. The guests who had arrived also scattered in all directions in a flurry. It was too brutal. Just the corpses on the ground alone were enough to make them tremble. Oh my God! He killed the 3 elders of Yinding Heavenly Palace with a single strike? Ashi, my God, this can't be an illusion, right? What's going on? Everyone couldn't figure out what was going on. The elders of Yinding Heavenly Palace were killed with a single strike. The corpses couldn't even be found. How could it be fake? Master! Su Mei immediately covered her mouth and exclaimed. His master, the 3rd elder of the Cloud Top Heavenly Palace, was killed by Li Zongjiu just like that. Who was this young man? How dare you? When Yin Qian saw this, he only thought that Li Zongjiu was able to control the terrifying power of the divine sword. Li Zongjio had killed the 3 elders of Yinding Heavenly Palace in front of everyone. It was already a dead end for him. Yun Qian was the palace master of Yinding Heavenly Palace. Now that his son's arm was cut off, and the 3 elders were killed, Li Zongjio had to give an explanation. Today, no one in Eldritch Land can protect you. Yun Qian was really angry. He opened his hands, and a Vajra ring appeared in his palm. There were ancient inscriptions on the Vajra ring. As Yun Qian used the Vajra ring in his hand, it was an eye-opener for the surrounding guests. Look carefully. This is the top celestial device of Yinding Heavenly Palace, the Vajra Demon Ring. Yuan Tianhu's eyes lit up when he saw that. He was fortunate enough to experience the power of the Vajra demon subduing Hoop many years ago. Now that so much time had passed, Yun Qian's cultivation had already reached the peak of perfection. As a matter of fact, he rarely used such a powerful artifact anymore, so it would be extremely difficult to see him again. But now he finally saw it. Therefore, Yuan Tianhu hurriedly said to his 2 silly disciples. His 2 disciples immediately stood straight and stared at the situation in front of them. After all, this was a rare opportunity. TSK, the sword in this young man's hand is indeed very powerful. But I think he's doomed. He's just relying on his weapon. You too must remember that your cultivation is the most important thing. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yuan Tianhu also taught his disciples. Although these 2 disciples were relatively slow in some aspects, they also had a very strong awareness in cultivation. The most important thing was that they were obedient. Yuan Tianhu liked this kind of disciple. Don't just drink. Eat. Du Tianhe said to the Du family disciple behind him. He didn't care about the tense situation in front of him. Yinding Heavenly Palace was going to be unlucky today. And it was a bloody unlucky one. Therefore, while there was still food on the table, they had to eat as much as they could. When the Vajra demon ring appeared, it immediately carried a terrifying energy and was thrown toward Li Zongjio. Yun Qian and Li Zongjio were facing off. However, the scene that Yun Qian imagined did not happen. Instead, Li Zongjio casually swung his sword, and there was a loud bang. Instantly, the Vajra demon ring, the top celestial device of Yinding Heavenly Palace, that had been passed down for thousands of years, was cut in half. It was cut in half from the middle. Clang! It sounded like a piece of scrap metal that weighed about 5 kilograms falling to the ground. As a veteran disciple of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace, Xiang Fei was pleasantly surprised when he saw the Vajra demon subduing Hoop appear. At the very least, dying to this legendary treasure of the sect was a glorious thing. However, in the blink of an eye, the legendary treasure of the sect, it was actually cut into 2 halves. Yun Qian still maintained his shooting posture, and the hand seals in his hands were still in the same state. However, the current situation was not something that he could react to. See, this is how you should use this sword. Now, use this sword to stab that brat to death. Li Zongjio returned the 1,000 Slaughter sword to Kuan Erishur. In fact, Kuan Erishur had once displayed the power of the 1,000 Slaughter sword. However, he was not as relaxed as Li Zongjio. Moreover, he was able to display such great power. It was as if with this sword in hand, there was nothing in the world that could not be broken. With the 1,000 Slaughter sword in hand, Kuan Arashi's gaze quickly locked onto Yun Qi. However, at this moment, he saw Shueihua standing in front of Yun Qi protecting him. For a moment he felt a little uncomfortable. Li Zongjio used his mental power to check. He found that Shueihua seemed to have been cursed by someone. She was now in a state where she lost her memory. Shueihua, stand aside. Li Zongjio waved his hand and pushed Shueihua's figure away. Even with Shueihua's cultivation at the Supreme Being realm, she could not resist and was easily pushed away. Kuan Erishur also rushed toward Yun Qi without hesitation. What are you all standing there for? Kill him! Kill them all! Yun Qi hurriedly yelled. This was Yinding Heavenly Palace. This was his territory. What did the people in front of him want to do? Could it be that they wanted to defy the heavens? They swarmed forward and killed Li Zongjio and the others. Chapter 14:13. Kuan Erishur immediately took a step back and stood in front of Li Zhongjiu. The myriad slaughter sword in his hand also released a monstrous killing intent. "That's a demonic sword," Yun Qian hurriedly said when he saw the situation, and then looked around. "My friends, let's kill the demon in front of us together." Yun Qian wanted to mobilize the surrounding people to fight Li Zhongjiu. Killing Kuan Erishur was not a big deal. The most important thing was to get rid of Li Zhongjiu. "Hehe, we're here today to attend the wedding banquet. Since there's no wedding banquet to attend, we'll take our leave first." Some people saw that the situation was not right and quickly retreated. This shameless person wanted to drag all of them down with him. Who knew who was behind Li Zhongjiu? What's more, you don't have to worry about who's backing him right now. You can't handle him alone. Letting the others attack together, it was clear that they were just cannon fodder. The disciples of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace also surrounded Kuan Erishur and Xiang Fei. However, the two of them were not weak. In addition, the other party's elders did not dare to act rashly. They only sent some disciples. As expected, Li Zhongjiu did not act. He just watched Kuan Erishur fight with the other party. Obviously, Li Zhongjiu also had the same mentality. The other party did not have any experts, so he did not need to act. It would save him too much trouble. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu just stood in place. Looking at Kuan Erishur and Xiang Fei's actions, Li Zhongjiu would naturally kill someone with a higher cultivation than the two of them. However, the current situation did not require Li Zhongjiu to act. However, the number of disciples of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace was increasing. Yun Qi also hurriedly called for help from the side. Although one of his arms had been chopped off, Yun Qi's strength was still there. He had already reached rank 2 utmost exalted, which was even more powerful than the elders of some small sections. "Go and help. This is a good opportunity," Su Wangshan said to Blue Moon. Blue Moon nodded. At this moment, Kuan Erishur was surrounded by 10 experts of the same level. Their weapons weren't weak, but Kuan Erishur was able to stabilize the situation by relying on the myriad slaughter sword. Suddenly, one of them forced Xiang Fei back with a single move. Then, he quickly charged towards Kuan Erishur. Kuan Erishur had also sensed the other party. However, he did not have the opportunity to defend himself. The 10 people in front of him were attacking with all their might. Right at this moment, Qingyu leaped out. The sword qi in his hand continued to point, and the person who had launched the sneak attack had no choice but to retreat. The person who launched the sneak attack was Yun Qian's eldest disciple Lu Zhennan. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 streaks of sword qi disintegrated Lu Zhennan's attack. As he retreated, the other party's sword qi followed closely behind like a storm. Boom! Qingyu landed on the ground. The sword qi in her hand swayed like a bamboo forest. Her posture was also very valiant. Wow, why is there another beauty? Xiang Fei's eyes widened when he saw Qingyu. Although there were indeed many beauties in Yending Heavenly Palace, Xiang Fei could only be their enemy now. He would not be fated to be with them in the future. On the contrary, the beauty in front of them suddenly jumped out, which surprised both Xiang Fei and Kuan Erishur. Li Zhongjiu saw Qingyu. Then Su Wangshan's figure swept towards Li Zhongjiu. Hehe, Senior Evil Lord, do you still remember me? Su Wangshan did not know if Li Zhongjiu still remembered him. However, the 2 9th-grade sovereign primordial beasts, who had been guarding the mountain gate for him, had not escaped until now. They had been obediently staying in the Mountain Sea Pavilion. After all, the Mountain Sea Pavilion treated them very well. They were served with all their heart and soul. Moreover, the Mountain Sea Pavilion often bathed them and gave them massages. Their days were very comfortable. Seeing Su Wangshan coming, Li Zhongjiu had some memories of him. It's you. For Su Wangshan to jump out at this time meant that he was declaring that the Mountain Sea Pavilion was on the side of the evil dominator. As for the other things, there was no need to mention it. Yending Heavenly Palace was actually not that great. That was what Su Wangshan was trying to express. I did not expect Lord Evil Lord to be better than my 2 primordial beasts. Li Zhongjiu frowned. What primordial beasts? Soon after, he recalled that the great elder of the Sparrow Divine Palace had sent someone to kill him in order to get rid of him. At that time, he saw that the person's strength was not bad, at the level of a 9th-grade sovereign. Later on, 2 more helpers came. That thing was killed by him directly. However, the 2 helpers who came were directly subdued by Li Zongjio. Oh, I remember now. I will give the 2 primordial beasts to you, Li Zongjio said. Li Zongjio did not care about these things now. 9th grade sovereign primordial beasts could not survive one move in front of Li Zongjio. If Li Zongjio was really angry and wanted to fight, even a venerable would not be enough. Many of his moves were capable of destroying the heavens and the earth when they were unleashed. Mountain Sea Pavilion also has a share. Yun Qian saw that Su Wangshan had also made a move. Immediately, his face became extremely gloomy. Could it be that someone had specially made a move at this time to deal with Yending Heavenly Palace? At this moment, Yun Qian did not want to continue to delay. He had to cut the Gordian knot to better solve this problem. Therefore, Yun Qian also crushed a talisman in his hand. Shui Yu also suddenly raised her head. A very strong aura appeared in Yending Heavenly Palace. Master! This aura had just been born, but it was already very strong. It was so strong that everyone present felt that it was difficult to breathe. Even the primordial energy in everyone's body involuntarily started to circulate at this moment. It was because of this aura that they gave up resisting, because of this aura. Boom! A strong light exploded in the sky. Then, the figure of an old man in a golden robe gradually appeared. He sat cross-legged in the air. His aura was like an unshakable mountain. Venerable. As expected, Yending Heavenly Palace has given birth to a venerable. This is great news. Yuan Tianhu did not run away just now. Instead, he stayed and continued to observe the situation. As for how to make a move, that would be another matter. After all, this person was brought by the Du clan. Who knows when the Du clan would betray him, and he would be in trouble. When they saw the golden figure, they were shocked. Yuan Tianhu was also secretly shocked. The Cloudtop Heavenly Palace actually gave birth to a venerable realm expert. Since that was the case, it didn't matter even if they accidentally lost a few elders just now. As long as there was a venerable, the sect would be able to survive for thousands of years and never decline. Chapter 14:14. The Cloud-top Heavenly Palace was already extremely powerful. Now that a venerable had appeared, it was simply a blessing for the Cloud-top Heavenly Palace. However, the people from the Du clan did not even look at the venerable who had appeared. It did not cause the slightest ripple. It was as if the venerable was just another existence that had come to die. What exactly are these people from the Du clan up to? Could it be that a venerable has also appeared in the Du clan? Yuan Tianhu was shocked and muttered softly. Yuan Tianhu himself was a little puzzled by the appearance of such a situation. What exactly was going on? Master, doesn't the Du clan have a dragon? Instead, one of Yuan Tianhu's disciples reminded him. The appearance of the green stone dragon just now had already proven the strength of the Du clan. Therefore, it was very normal for them to not put a venerable in their eyes. Such a simple logic, Yuan Tianhu naturally knew, but he did not immediately think of it. Immediately, Yuan Tianhu slapped each of their heads. Master, I don't know? Do I need you to remind me? The other disciple was quite aggrieved as he held his head, because he did not say anything just now. After all, he did not know why he was also beaten up. However, after thinking about it for a while, this disciple also swallowed the question in his heart. If he asked this question, other than getting hit on the head, there wouldn't be any other change. Could it be that he wanted Yuan Tianhu to give him another slap on the head? The less he spoke, the less he would be beaten. Master! Shui Yu raised her head and looked at the sky. Then, the golden figure opened his eyes. There seemed to be a terrifying fluctuation in his eyes that was constantly spreading to the front. Rumble! This aura burst out, causing a terrifying storm to appear in the sky above the Cloud-top Heavenly Palace. Greetings, Supreme Elder! Everyone in the Cloud-top Heavenly Palace, including Sect Master Yun Qian, said respectfully to the golden figure in the sky. The golden figure also woke up and looked at the people below. His gaze quickly locked onto Kuan Erishur. There was no need for any additional explanation. It was already so obvious, so there was no need to ask. For the Supreme Elder of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace, there was no need to figure out the ins and outs of the matter. He only needed to find out who was causing trouble here. Die! The Supreme Elder roared at the people below from over 100 meters away. Immediately, a loud bang was heard. The wrath of a venerable one shook the world. This kind of momentum was not something that could be resisted so easily. Everyone present felt their ears vibrate. In an instant, he felt as if he had sunk into a boundless chaos. It was as if he had sunk into a quagmire, and it was difficult for him to escape. As for those who were specifically targeted by this sound wave, their fates might be even more miserable. Originally, Kuan Erishur and Xiang Fei both thought that they were done for. But when he looked down, he realized that he was completely unharmed. Looks like you're the one behind this, old man. Li Zhongjie directly kicked away the Thousand Slaughter sword in Kuan Arashi's hand. Then, the Thousand Slaughter sword whistled, turned into a sword light, and swept directly toward the Supreme Elder above. Boom! The sword swept out violently. The Supreme Elder looked at the sword and smiled disdainfully. These days it was really funny. He didn't know where this random cat or dog came from, but he dared to provoke the king of the forest. At this moment, Li Zhongjie and the others felt like they were mice living at the bottom of the food chain, wanting to challenge the world's biggest and strongest cat king. However, in the next second, the arrogant Grand Elder couldn't laugh anymore. Originally, the Supreme Elder wanted to make a move and block the sword with one finger, making Li Zhongjie and the others despair. At the same time, it would show the huge gap in strength between them. However, Li Zhongjie's sword easily pierced through the Supreme Elder's body at an unimaginably terrifying speed. The outstretched arm was cleanly cut off. Then, an extremely thin line of blood appeared on the Supreme Elder's neck. Immediately, the Supreme Elder's head fell from the sky. Then the body fell from the sky. Everyone could clearly see that the person who fell from the sky was none other than the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace's new venerable realm expert. The Supreme Elder of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace. The dazzling golden light also disappeared at this moment. It had disappeared completely. Yun Qian's expression was already indescribable. He had never seen such a situation before. What was going on? Why did the rhythm of today's events seem to be a little off? Every expert of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace that came died. Most importantly, when he saw that the Supreme Elder had also fallen, he was shocked. Immediately his expression changed. A power hidden in Shuiyue's body seemed to be rapidly dissipating at this moment. Then, a trace of clarity appeared in Shuiyue's eyes. Suddenly, Shuiyue covered her head and quickly retreated. Her expression was one of extreme pain. Kuan Erishur saw the change in Shuiyue. At this moment, Yun Qian's expression also changed. Before Shuiyue completely woke up, he took a step forward and instantly came in front of Shuiyue. He pointed a finger at Shuiyue's neck. With a slight force, it could easily penetrate Shuiyue's neck. All of you stop. Kuan Erishur, do you want her to live or die? Yun Qian seemed to know what was going to happen, so he did not hesitate to take action. He had to subdue Li Zhongjie and the others. When they saw Yun Qian take action, all the guests present were very clear. Obviously, there was nothing to criticize about the shady business of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace. Wasn't it just a small matter? Everyone knew in their hearts. But now, Yun Qian was exposed. After being exposed, he chose to kidnap the disciple of the Cloud-Top Heavenly Palace. Moreover, she was his future daughter-in-law. This was even more despicable. Old Qian, I never expected you to be such a person. When Yuan Tianhu saw this scene, he could not help but say immediately. Yun Qian ignored Yuan Tianhu's sarcasm. At the same time, he did not care about the cold eyes of the guests present at the scene. Brother Kuan. Shuiyue, who had woken up, also called out Kuan Arashi's name excitedly. However, the way they addressed each other was a little mushy. Xiang Fei shook off the goosebumps on the ground. But when Kuan Erishur heard this, he immediately became ecstatic. You're finally normal. Chapter 14-15. Just as Kuan Erishur was about to rush over, Qianyan also tightened his grip. Immediately, Shuiyue groaned softly. because Yun Qian's strength had already penetrated Shuiyue's neck. If he exerted more strength, he would be able to sever Shuiyue's neck. Stop right there, kid. Yun Qian snorted coldly. Kuan Erasure immediately stopped. He didn't dare to move forward. Old man Yun Qian, your reputation has been ruined today. Let Shuiyue go and I won't kill you. Kuan Erasure said in a deep voice. Now was the moment where Shuiyue's life was at stake. Of course, he couldn't be careless. Hence, Kuan Erasure had also calmed down. At the very least, he had to ensure Shuiyue's safety. However, Yun Qian didn't care about that. Ruin my reputation? Haha. In the wilderness, as long as you have strength, there is no such thing as ruin. If you want this woman to live, then kill your friend. 2. You can only choose one. Yun Qian laughed loudly and threw out a similar problem of the century. Shuiyue naturally saw Li Zongjio here. If Lan Kuan was to kill Li Zongjio in order to save her, Shuiyue would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. Furthermore, Shuiyue had already recovered her memories earlier on, and she knew that she was in the Cloud Dingtian Palace. In the Cloud Palace, the coldness she had towards Kuan Erasure in the past gushed out. Brother Kuan, don't listen to him. Take revenge for me and kill these people. When Kuan Erasure heard Shuiyue's words, he immediately realized what Shuiyue wanted to do. She didn't want Kuan Erasure to be restrained. Hence she was very decisive. However, just as Shuiyue was about to self-destruct, but Yun Qian directly sealed the Aquamoon with a surge of essence energy. Shuiyue had also lost her ability to self-destruct. She could only open her eyes and look at everything in front of her. She couldn't even speak. Yun Qi felt that it was a pity that such a thing happened. But now, the most important thing was to get rid of this annoying thing in front of them. If it weren't for Kuan Erasure, they wouldn't be in such a situation. Kuan Erasure, do you want to save her? Put down your sword and kowtow 3 times to everyone who died in Cloud Top Heavenly Palace today. Then, I will beg my father to let this woman go. Yun Qi said coldly. Yun Qi did not care about Shuiyue's beauty at all. The world was so big, what kind of beauty could not be found? As for feelings, Shuiyue was just a cultivation furnace. There was no need to talk about love. Once the wedding was over, he would be able to absorb Shuiyue's energy for his own use. But today this matter was disrupted by Kuan Erasure. He should have gotten rid of this guy back then. Yun Qi didn't expect that it would cause such a big problem. He didn't expect this at all, and he was very unhappy. 2 idiots. Li Zongjio took a step forward. He patted Kuan Arashi's shoulder. Since the other party had already exposed himself, there was no need for Kuan Erasure to deal with the rest. After all, he was Kuan Arashi's boss. No matter what, he couldn't let Kuan Erasure kowtow to these people. People of Cloud Top Heavenly Palace, listen up. I can spare those who voluntarily left the sect, but after 10 breaths, everyone of Cloud Top Heavenly Palace will die. That's what I said. Li Zongjio said calmly. He tried his best to make his tone sound as if what he said was true, but no one believed Li Zongjio's arrogant words. They even thought that Li Zongjio was a retard. This kid is too arrogant. Although I don't know what means he used to kill a venerable, Cloud Top Heavenly Palace has thousands of years of history. How can it be destroyed so easily? Ignorant kid, you won't amount to anything. The surrounding experts of Untainted Land even thought that Li Zongjio's words were a little funny, because he was too naive. But there were a few people present who didn't take it as a joke. They listened very seriously, and looked at the people of Cloud Top Heavenly Palace with pity. They were the people of the Du family and Su Wangshan. Among the crowd, there was one person who took Li Zongjio's words seriously. I didn't expect the sect to be so shameless. Su Mei will leave the sect today. From now on, the matters of Cloud Top Heavenly Palace have nothing to do with me. Su Mei walked out in front of everyone's eyes. After all, Yun Qian's behavior today was indeed embarrassing for many disciples. But leaving the sect was such a serious matter that many disciples weren't prepared for it. Su Mei's choice made everyone very surprised. Senior sister Su Mei, you've made a very wise choice. Xiang Fei laughed when he saw this. Su Mei's choice was tantamount to slapping the entire Cloud Top Heavenly Palace in the face. For the shameless higher-ups of Cloud Top Heavenly Palace, Someone like her had to stand up and tell them how shameless their behavior was. Obviously, they wanted to seize other people's talents and use other people's physiques to strengthen their own cultivation. Such things didn't happen in untainted land, but like Yun Qian and Yun Qi, the father and son, who had done bad things, they had to make up excuses. Now they were exposed. Naturally, they were despised by everyone. They even despised them. Very well, you can live. Li Zongjiu nodded and said. Yun Qi looked at Su Mei. Yun Qi was also very interested in this woman. However, this woman was too smart, and her innate talent wasn't weak. She was very strong. Therefore, if Yun Qi wanted to conquer Su Mei, he had to use certain means. But today, Su Mei had directly left the sect. It was as if joining Cloud Top Heavenly Palace was an extremely shameful act. Su Mei, today you have the guts to betray the sect. In the future, you will be cursed and abandoned by thousands of people in untainted land. I, Yun Qi, will not let you go. I think you know the consequences of betraying the sect. Yun Qi looked at Su Mei and said fiercely, You'd better take care of yourself. Su Mei wasn't worried at all. Instead, she looked at Yun Qi coldly. She sneered. 10 breaths have passed. Li Zongjiu was counting the time. Although Su Mei's departure attracted a lot of attention, Li Zongjiu was also looking at the time. Yun Qian suddenly became nervous. Because he saw Li Zongjiu move. Subconsciously, he wanted to block the water moon in front of him. But his movement was obviously much slower. His speed instantly decreased. It wasn't that he was too slow, but Li Zongjiu was too fast. Qi. A stream of blood spurted out from his arm. Yun Qian suddenly saw that his arm was separated from his body. Li Zongjiu had unknowingly cut off Yun Qian's arm with a stream of yuan power. Then he appeared behind Yun Qian. Just when Yun Qian was nervous, Yun Qian pointed at his finger. She pointed her finger at Yun Qian's head. Immediately, Yun Qian's body stopped. The yuan power that was restraining Shueiyue also disappeared without a trace. Oh no! Yun Qian suddenly realized that something was wrong. Yun Qian's premonition was very accurate. But in an instant, Li Zongjiu's finger exploded his head. Bang! Yun Qian's head was like a watermelon that fell from a high place on the ground. It exploded instantly. Blood and skulls splattered and covered the ground. However, Li Zongjiu used his yuan power to keep the loot out. Instant kill with one move. If it was said that he had used some unknown method to get rid of the Great Elder. But now, he had killed Yun Qian with his own hands in front of all of them. Moreover, he had killed Yun Qian at close range. Sect Master. Sect Master is dead. Some of the people from Yinding Heavenly Palace were stunned. Li Zongjiu immediately raised his hand. Pitch-black thunderclouds immediately gathered in the sky. It was like a quilt that could cover the sky and the earth. All the great desolate world experts present felt their hearts palpitate. Is this the heavenly thunder? How can it be triggered by someone? Many people felt the fear of being dominated by the heavenly lightning. Immediately, they wanted to retreat. But the thunderclouds were right above their heads. Even if they hid underground, it would be difficult to hide. What? Yun Qi looked up at the sky. Li Zongjiu snapped his fingers. Immediately, the thunderclouds in the sky released thousands of lightning bolts. Boom! Boom! Innumerable lightning bolts fell. Above the cloud-top heavenly palace, defensive arrays immediately gushed out. These arrays were specially designed to resist the thunderclouds. After all, the Yunding Heavenly Palace was so high that thunderclouds often appeared. But the thunderclouds summoned by Li Zongjiu were not so simple. Rumble! The defense of the Yinding Heavenly Palace collapsed in an instant. Then, the overbearing power of the thunderbolts fell toward the people on the mountain. The thunderbolts seemed to have eyes. They accurately found the disciples of the Yunding Heavenly Palace. One thunderbolt fell on the head of each disciple of the Yinding Heavenly Palace. Boom! Boom! Some people were standing very close to the thunderbolts, but they were killed when the thunderbolts fell. Those who were not from the Yinding Heavenly Palace were not hurt at all, even though they were very close to the thunderbolts. In less than 3 breaths, all the people in the Yinding Heavenly Palace were killed. Only 2 people survived. One was Yun Qi. The other was Su Mei, who had left the sect in time. Chapter 14:16. Lightning Annihilation. Furthermore, in front of so many top experts of the primitive land, he easily annihilated the cloud-top heavenly palace. Anyone who heard of this scene would find it hard to believe. But now they saw it with their own eyes. What else could they not believe? Oh my God. It was annihilated just like that. It didn't feel bloody at all, because the moment the lightning struck, the powerful force had already crushed people directly. There was no mercy at all. Regardless of gender, old or young, they were all annihilated. Sume felt a wave of cold air rising from the soles of her feet and condensing above her head. It was too terrifying. It was the first time she felt so close to life and death, and it was an irreversible situation. Between life and death, you could not control anything. If Li Zongjie wanted you dead, he only needed to count you in, and you would be dead. Therefore, Sume was able to survive not because of her strength or talent, but because she stood up at the right time. That was why Sume was able to survive. All the experts of the primitive land were stunned. It was not until this moment that they realized that the ordinary-looking young man in front of them was actually a terrifying godlike existence. They had always thought that this young man had only mastered some strange skills, but now it seemed that he did not even bother to make a move, and just wanted to have some fun. Yin Qi, who had lost an arm, he looked around in a daze. The people in the cloud-top heavenly palace were all lying on the ground with smoke rising from them. They were all killed. Yin Qi was the only one left, and he had even lost an arm. He had no relatives. As far as the eye could see, there were only enemies left. At this moment, Yin Qi felt like he was about to collapse. Yin Qi immediately knelt down in front of Li Zongjie. My lord, spare me, spare me. I know I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Yin Qi knelt down neatly. You're kneeling to the wrong person. Kuan Erasure, I've specially left this brat for you. Li Zongjie said, then stepped aside. Kuan Erasure walked up and squatted in front of Yin Qi. Uncle Kuan Erasure, I know I was wrong. I will kowtow to you. I will kowtow to you. Yin Qi immediately kowtowed to Kuan Erasure. When the crowd saw Yin Qi, they couldn't believe that he would cower so quickly. However, they had no choice but to cower. The other party could easily annihilate his sect. How could he still be so unyielding? Right now, Yin Qi could only kowtow and beg for mercy. Only then would he have a chance at survival. If Kuan Erasure was in a good mood, he would still have a chance to live. At this moment, Shueihua also walked in front of Kuan Erasure. How about this? We won't bully you, or make things difficult for you. Kuan Erasure said. Xiang Fei, you too. Kuan Erasure, Shueihua, and Xiang Fei stood together. The three of us will each stab you once. If you can survive, we'll let you go. If we torture you, it'll be a waste of time. Whether or not you can survive will depend on your own abilities. Kuan Erasure said. Yin Qi's face changed. Just as he was about to reply, he saw that Kuan Erasure had already stabbed towards him. Qi. The sword easily pierced through Yin Qi's body. The sword avoided the vital part of his heart. However, it made Yin Qi feel a piercing pain that made it hard for him to breathe. Arg. Just as Yin Qi had yet to recover from the pain, Xiang Fei also used his own sword. He stabbed it in. Qi. Another sword pierced through Yin Qi's body. Yin Qi stared at the person in front of him with his eyes wide open. It was as though his eyeballs were about to pop out. In the next second, Shueihua also used an ice sword and pierced through Yin Qi's head in an instant. She only said that she would stab him 3 times, but she didn't say that she wouldn't stab his head. Shueihua's sword pierced through Yin Qi's head, and he seemed to have turned into a unicorn. He died on the spot. Yin Qi also died tragically on the spot. When Yin Qi fell, it meant that the people of Yin Ding Heavenly Palace were all dead. It was a foregone conclusion that they would be wiped out. However, although the people of Yin Ding Heavenly Palace were all dead, there were still many treasures in Yin Ding Heavenly Palace. Hence, many people's eyes lit up. They were already thinking about it. When should they make a move and snatch the treasures? After all, there were so many treasures. They couldn't let them go to waste. Some people were already ready to make a move. However, Li Zongjie waved his hand. He dispersed the dark clouds in the sky. Since everyone is here today, there's no need to leave, Li Zongjie said. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expression changed. Could it be that Li Zongjio wanted to dominate the untainted land? What happened just now had nothing to do with them. Hence, these people could watch the scene unfold in front of them, as if they were watching a show. Instead, they felt a sense of schadenfreude towards the end of Yunding Heavenly Palace. After all, with one less strong competitor, they might be able to gain more benefits in the untainted land in the future. However, Li Zongjio directly asked everyone to stay. No one knew what he wanted to do. However, everyone was very nervous. This was true. Yuan Tianhu and the other experts quickly exchanged glances with each other. Since the other party could wipe out Yunding Heavenly Palace in an instant, he could at least kill more than half of the people present. I say, Brother Dosu, what do you mean by this? Yuan Tianhu immediately got closer to Dosu. Although the two of them weren't very familiar with each other, it was not too late to become familiar with each other. How would I know? How could I guess what evil lord would do? Dosu's face was also emotionless. The main thing was that Dosu really didn't know. The atmosphere seemed to have fallen to the freezing point. Everyone was waiting for someone to take the lead and ask Li Zongjio what he meant. Even Long Kun and Shueiyue had confused looks on their faces. Today is the big day of my brother's wedding. I won't send out an invitation. Li Zongjio looked around and said in a clear voice. When everyone heard this, their originally tense hearts also relaxed at this moment, completely relaxing. Phew! Almost everyone present breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. If Li Zongjio really wanted to take action, it would be quite terrifying. From Li Zongjio's attack to the destruction of Yunding Heavenly Palace, no one clearly saw the level of Li Zongjio's strength. At least it was far beyond the Supreme Being realm. The only explanation was that Li Zongjio's current realm. Could it be that he was the legendary Supreme Saint Realm expert? Supreme Saint Realm? Supreme Saint Realm expert. Some of the top experts already had some guesses in their hearts. They looked at each other. Apart from this possibility, there was no other possibility. It had to be something like this. Congratulations, congratulations. Our immeasurable longevity mountain congratulates the two of you on your marriage. It's just a small gift, please accept it. Someone immediately began to congratulate him. How could the situation not be clear? It was Kun Erisher and Shueyu who were together. Fortunately, when they came just now, they didn't have time to give out their congratulatory gifts. Otherwise, they would have to take out another gift. With someone taking the lead, the others instantly became sensible. How could the situation not be clear? They quickly handed over their congratulatory gifts. At the same time, they also hurriedly congratulated them. It just so happened that there were ready-made gifts. For a moment, there were too many people, and Kun Erisher was a little overwhelmed. Moreover, he didn't know what was going on. Why was he suddenly getting married? There were so many things ready-made. Even the wedding hall was perfectly decorated. Let me do it, let me do it. Everyone come over here. Those who want to give a gift, please leave your name. I'm sorry. I'm not very clear about your situation. Immediately, Xiang Fei also consciously played the role of a butler. He went directly to the long table and began to register the gifts. You should be able to handle the wedding banquet, right? Li Zongjio came in front of Su Mei and asked indifferently. Su Mei originally wanted to leave Yunding Heavenly Palace. After all, now that she had left the sect, with Su Mei's talent and strength, there would be many sects competing to invite her. Therefore, Su Mei was very clear about it. But Su Mei also wanted to take this opportunity to go out and gain experience. Li Zongjio's sudden question made Su Mei nervous. After all, Li Zongjio in front of her was the person who destroyed Yunding Heavenly Palace. Yes, I can. Su Mei nodded. Previously, she was only a little interested in Li Zongjio, and felt that the Li Zongjio in front of her should not be such a simple person. But now, it seemed that he was not simple, he was simply too terrifying. I'll leave the other matters of the wedding banquet to you. I guarantee that it will go on as usual. After it's done, you will be the new palace master of Yunding Heavenly Palace. Li Zongjio said indifferently. He was directly giving the entire Yunding Heavenly Palace to her. As the disciple of the third elder, Su Mei usually knew a lot of things about the sect. She was also very clear about how much wealth there was in Yunding Heavenly Palace. There were countless treasures in it. It would be a lie to say that she was not tempted. But whether Li Zongjio could be so generous, she did not know. Okay. Su Mei felt that Li Zongjio did not seem to be joking. So she agreed. Previously, Li Zongjio only killed the disciples of Yunding Heavenly Palace. But many of the servants and the like were still alive. None of them were harmed. So the wedding went on as usual. But the groom was changed. Chapter 14-17. This kind of thing was really rare. To be able to see it happen with one's own eyes was indeed a legend. Kuan Erishur himself felt like he was in a dream. Even now he was very nervous. I'm a little nervous now. When he went to battle and caused a ruckus at a wedding, he didn't see Kuan Erishur like this. But now that he was about to get married, he was so nervous that even his hands began to tremble. What are you nervous about? Just as he was worrying about not having a good dress, 1,000 Hands elder from the Rainbow Sect took the initiative to appear in front of Li Zongjio. Moreover, she had also made a custom-made dress for Long Kuan. Soon after, she produced a bright red ceremonial robe. On the robe, there were dragons and phoenixes embroidered on it. It was incomparably beautiful. When Kuan Erishur put on this dress, he felt like he was in a dream. I'm getting married? Then Kuan Erishur pinched his face in disbelief. Doling was at the side checking Kuan Arashi's decorations. Not bad, not bad. Your craftsmanship is really good. The beautiful elder of the Rainbow Sect waved her hand and put away the glowing scissors she brought. She looked at Do Linger's eyes, clearly wanting to touch her scissors. This was an ancestral treasure. Naturally, she couldn't let Do Ling take it as a toy. Do Ling was so angry that she pouted. Li Zongjio chose a new one at the auspicious time. None of the guests present dared to leave. Li Zongjio wasn't the only one present. There were also people from the Du family. They all helped to take care of it. There weren't many people from the Mountain Sea Pavilion, but Su Wangshan did it himself. Some people who wanted to curry favor with Li Zongjio also took care of it. Of course, there were also people who didn't want to do these things. They were quite cold. Among them were the brother sects of the Cloud Top Palace. It was said that the relationship between the two sects was very good. They were like brothers and their ancestors had a certain relationship. Violet Heaven Sword Sect. However, the Cloud Top Heavenly Palace had been destroyed, and the Purple Heaven Sword Sect didn't even dare to say a word. This was the suppression of strength. Even if you have an opinion, what can you do? You'll be gone in a matter of minutes. The Purple Heaven Sword Sect itself was a top existence in the untainted land. But this time, seeing his brother's sect being destroyed, he had to give a big gift to Kuan Erishur. There were two reasons why the people from the Purple Heaven Sword Sect didn't leave. Firstly, they were really afraid of Li Zongjio's terrifying strength. Secondly, they were drooling over the items in the Cloud Top Sky Palace. After all, as a brother sect, there were many things that they knew clearly. Some of the secret treasures of the Cloud Top Heavenly Palace. Even if you went to look for them, you might not be able to find them. Therefore, the Purple Heaven Sword Sect decided to stay until the end. At this moment, the Cloud Top Palace was like a huge treasure trove that no one was guarding. It was an open way, and anyone could take it away. However, Li Zongjio, this tyrant, was guarding this place. Either he was waiting for this tyrant to leave, or he was waiting for him to let down his guard. The wedding banquet began. Gongs and drums filled the sky. Li Zongjio also became the witness of the marriage between the two. He witnessed such a matchless marriage between the two of them. In the Holy Martial Continent, this wedding was definitely one of the best. Who would be able to invite so many legendary experts of the Great Desolate Era to this wedding? There was even a dragon outside watching the door. Who would be able to pull off such an extravagant wedding? Although the parents of both sides were not present, it didn't matter. They could go back and do another wedding. After all, they were all over the world. First, they had to take advantage of the time and the place. Congratulations to the two of you for tying the knot. Li Zongjio said to the two of them. He also prepared a generous gift for the two of them. Previously, he had gathered a lot of treasures in the Holy Martial Realm, and put them all in this storage ring. He handed it over to the two of them. The reason why the two of them could succeed today was all because of Li Zhongjiu. Therefore, they were very grateful to Li Zhongjiu. Then the wedding banquet began. However, Li Zhongjiu was even more generous. He gave a bottle of elixir to everyone who came. There was at least 1 9th grade elixir and 3 8th grade elixir in the bottle. Du Tianhe and Du Su, who were in charge of filling the bottles, were about to have a heart attack. Looking at such a generous gift in front of them, they even had the impulse to take these elixirs and run away. But when they thought about how they could get as many elixirs as they wanted in the future, if they held onto Li Zhongjiu's thigh, in the end, their rationality prevailed over their impulse. Originally, these people who came to attend the wedding felt like they had suffered a loss in silence in the end. However, due to Li Zhongjiu's strength, they did not dare to say anything. But now they were beaming with joy. They were even glad that they did not leave just now. If they had left, these things would not have been fated with them. They could not have been so thick-skinned to come. In terms of value, the gifts they had given before were not comparable to the elixirs given by Li Zhongjiu. They did not suffer a loss at all. Instead, they made a lot of money. Then more people came to propose a toast. When Kuan Erishur brought Shuiwe to propose a toast, they were also much more enthusiastic. The people of the Purple Heaven Sword sect, who had been sullen and uncooperative, were the most attentive. They were even close to calling Kuan Erishur brother. In the untainted land, there was no such thing as age. There was only the strength of cultivation, and seniority was based on cultivation. Seniority was based on strength. The sect master of the Purple Heaven Sword sect also directly called Kuan Erishur brother. It seemed that the two were old friends who had known each other for many years. This change in attitude was so fast that it was hard to believe that it was something that a human could do. They really did do these things. All the words brother and brother disappeared at this moment. It was so simple and direct. Li Zhongjiu did not mind. How Kuan Erishur dealt with his interpersonal relationships was Kuan Arashi's business. Li Zhongjiu did not care about it. At the main table, Kuan Erishur was drinking and chatting with Do Tianhe and the others. At the same time, Li Zhongjiu's eyes were full of emotions. He did not expect that the trajectory of this life would be so wonderful. In the 3,000 years of his previous life, he did feel that he had lived in vain. At this moment, he really felt that he was alive. He originally wanted to find Qi Yanran, but he thought that he needed to hold another banquet when he returned. At that time, he would let Qi Yanran come. The next step is to marry little Ling heir. I will find a good family for you. Li Zhongjiu drank a few glasses of wine and began to chat freely. I don't want to. After hearing this, Turner shook her head like a rattle drum, shaking it crazily. Haha, it's time to marry. Do Tianhe also said jokingly. Although Su Mei was a former disciple of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace, she was invited by Li Zhongjiu. Let's change the name of the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. Let's call it the Cloudtop Heavenly Palace. You will be the sect master. Li Zhongjiu looked at Su Mei and said. Su Mei was stunned. If you have any problems, you can go to Su Wangshan and family head Do. In my name, I will protect you for 100 years. Li Zhongjiu said. Using his name as the evil lord to protect your sect for 100 years. What kind of honor is that? At present, there were not many forces that could be protected by Li Zhongjiu. Even the Do family did not have such honor. However, because of Do Ling heir, they would help the Do family if they were in trouble. After all, Do Ling heir was Li Zhongjiu's companion. Naturally, they would not forget their friendship. Thank you, Senior Evil Lord. Su Mei did not expect that such a good thing would fall on her. Although she was not ready, she was confident that she could do it well. All the people in the untainted land had ambitions. After seeing the vast world, they would spare no effort to climb up. Only when they reached the peak could they be considered to be alive and in control of their own lives. Otherwise, they would be easily taken away by others. Li Zhongjiu was a person who stood at the peak. Therefore, it was quite easy to get all of this. One day, when they could surpass Li Zhongjiu, they would be truly free. But in fact, Li Zhongjiu was not interested in controlling them at all. Just when the wedding banquet was over, In the sky thousands of miles away, a layer of terrifying black cloud storm suddenly blew. It seemed that there was an extremely terrifying ancient fierce beast born in the sky. In an extremely arrogant manner, it rushed towards the direction of Yunding Heavenly Palace. At this moment Qing Shilong, who had been resting at the door, suddenly raised his head. He raised his head abruptly. His huge dragon eyes were filled with shock. Hiss! Black light shone on the world. Qing Shilong also raised his head in horror. Roar! Qing Shilong Dragon Clan. I didn't expect you to betray the dignity of the Dragon Clan and be willing to be a slave. From now on, the Qing Shilong Dragon Clan will be expelled from Dragon Island. A loud voice resounded through the world. It was so loud that even the people around them felt like they were being deafened. Even the wine cups on the table exploded under this roar. The cup in Li Zhongjiu's hand was also shattered by the other party's voice. Immediately his face changed. Chapter 14:18. Billowing black flame chi came from afar. The distance of thousands of miles was covered in an instant. Those who were dining in the Cloudtop Palace were all top experts in the untainted land. They could clearly feel the power of the sudden appearance of the chi. Their expressions changed slightly. Dragon Island? The legendary Dragon Island? The Du family's people also changed their expressions. Although they knew the dragon tribe would make a comeback, they didn't expect it to come so soon. It had only been a few days since the Dragon Island was settled, and another expert came. Moreover, the person who kicked Qing Shilong out of the Dragon Island was obviously not a simple person. Qing Shilong could only roar at the sky to express his unwillingness. He was the victim. Why did this have to happen? He felt extremely wronged. However, these obsidian dragons were cold and heartless. On the Dragon Island, the Obsidian Dragon tribe was a very powerful tribe with many experts. A small branch like Qing Shilong was basically oppressed. This time, the person who came was a guardian of the Obsidian Dragon tribe. The Obsidian Dragon tribe also had the ability to kick someone out of the Dragon Island after saying such words. Everyone was also discussing. Furthermore, in front of this aura, there was also a feeling of fear and trepidation. Boom! It was He Qi, one of the 7 guardians of the Obsidian Dragon tribe. Dressed in black, He Qi stood in the air and looked down at the wedding banquet below. Banquet. Today's banquet will be the last farewell banquet for you lowly humans. He Qi sneered and stared at the people below. Although there were some people with good cultivation, it was impossible for them to compete with him, a guardian of the Obsidian Dragon tribe. Everyone was confused. Why did this happen again? Couldn't they just let them have a good meal here? Why did they have to go through so many twists and turns? Is he really a legendary expert of the dragon tribe? He seems to be more terrifying than the venerable realm. The absolute saint realm. This was the reason why the Obsidian Dragon tribe was so proud. For some unknown reason, the strength of the dragon clan had increased tremendously in this life. Now, a mere 7th protector had appeared, and he was already an absolute saint. It was terrifying. Yuan Tianhu glanced at the nearby flying divine tiger, who was already foaming at the mouth. It was obvious that under the pressure of the latter, it was having difficulty breathing and was about to faint. Yuan Tianhu had never seen the flying god tiger in such a state before. It was probably going to lose all its face today. However, the terrifying existence before them was the one that gave Yuan Tianhu and the others a sense of crisis. If he didn't do it well, he might die today. Why is this meal so terrible? He Qi saw that the people below did not dare to make a sound. Therefore he also smiled disdainfully. Who is it that is controlling the Bluestone Dragon of my Dragon Island? Although the Bluestone Dragon race has been expelled from the Dragon Island by me, the might of the dragon race still remains. I won't allow anyone to taint it. Take the initiative to come out, and I can consider letting the others go. He Qi said to herself. Li Zhongjiu calmly picked up the towel on the table and wiped his mouth. Go to the kitchen and ask if dragon meat can be cooked. Li Zhongjiu said to Sumei. Sumei was stunned. She was already frightened by the sudden appearance of the so-called 7th protector of the dragon clan. She didn't even dare to move. Only when she heard Li Zhongjiu's words did she react. At the same time, the pressure on her body was relieved. I'll go and ask. Although Sume said that she was going to ask, she didn't dare to stand up. Everyone had heard what Li Zongjio said just now, including Heiqi in the sky. After all, no one had dared to speak until now. Only Li Zongjio had spoken, which naturally attracted Heiqi's attention. Boss, you can even handle this? Kuan Erasure looked at Li Zongjio in shock. Although the dragon clan didn't come for them, the trouble in front of them must be for Li Zongjio. As long as it was Li Zongjio's enemy, it would naturally be Kuan Arashi's enemy. How could he let Li Zongjio face it alone? Kuan Erasure naturally stood firmly on Li Zongjio's side. Don't worry, no one can mess up this wedding today. Li Zongjio smiled. Suddenly, he waved his hand toward the sky. Then he pulled down fiercely. Heiqi was about to attack Li Zongjio. With his strength of the first great absolute saint realm, it would be easy for him to kill everyone in the Cloudtop Palace. However, in an instant, Heiqi was controlled by an invisible force. Then his whole body was pulled to the ground. Bang! His body landed on the ground, and the earth shook. This fall even smashed Heiqi's body out. After all, Heiqi clearly felt a strong pressure when he landed. In order to capture the danger, he released his own power, and released his true body to defend against the danger. Boom! The ground exploded. It seemed that there was a cliff at the edge of the palace, and it fell directly from the sky. A small part of the mountain peak was shaken off. Roar! Heiqi roared. The person in front of him had controlled him. Heiqi immediately turned his body, and at the same time, he opened his mouth and released a destructive dragon breath. Like a lotus flower, he released it in all directions. Seeing this, Li Zongjio waved his hand again. A force directly imprisoned the power of the dragon's breath that the latter spewed out in this space. Heiqi was also imprisoned and couldn't escape the space in front of him. At the same time, the black destructive dragon breath burned his body. Boy, how dare you touch me? My Obsidian Dragon Clan will not let you go. Heiqi's voice was heard. Everyone was watching the scene with their own eyes. A live dragon was being roasted alive. Heiqi was also imprisoned by Li Zongjio's power. Obviously, he had no way to break free from Li Zongjio's power. Therefore, he could only use his Obsidian Dragon Clan's name to deter Li Zongjio. However, this kind of deterrence was useless in front of Li Zongjio. You're quite stubborn. Looks like I have to roast you more. Li Zongjio also injected his yuan energy into Heiqi. Immediately, Heiqi's body was burned by the flames, and he looked like he was being roasted red. The crowd could only watch and admire the scene of the black dragon being braised in red sauce. Qing Shilong transformed into an old man in green robes. He stood in the distance and watched Li Zongjio roast the 7 guardians of the Obsidian Dragon Clan. Heiqi was burned to death. Even Qing Shilong felt a lingering fear in his heart. He couldn't believe his eyes. But it made sense. Li Zongjio had no respect for the Dragon Clan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the only one left in Qing Shilong's bloodline. Moreover, he ended up in this state. Even the Dragon Ball was taken away by Li Zongjio. Originally, Qing Shilong had thought that Li Zongjio was afraid of the dragon race's revenge, so he didn't dare to kill them all. Or maybe he wanted to know the dragon race's secrets, so he had kept him by his side. But now, it seemed that Li Zongjio just wanted a dragon to pull the flying boat. He didn't have any other intentions. He wasn't afraid of the Dragon Clan at all. He even killed the 7 guardians of the Obsidian Dragon Clan without hesitation. He didn't hesitate at all. He roasted them on the spot. The dignity and heritage of the Dragon Clan were nothing in front of Li Zongjio. He didn't take them seriously at all. In the end, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the black dragon, which was more than 1,000 meters long, was burned to death. Its whole body was red. When Li Zongjio withdrew from the restriction, he immediately smelled a fragrance that assailed his nostrils. Many people had eaten their fill, but when they smelled the fragrance, their stomachs couldn't help growling. At the same time, they were swallowing their saliva. If it weren't for the fact that everyone had clearly sensed the terrifying aura coming from the Obsidian Dragon Clan, they would have thought that it was just a stunt that Li Zongjio had arranged for them to see. Sume's eyes widened. Go and ask the chef to cut the meat and put it on a plate. Since we've met today, I'll give everyone an extra meal. Eat a dragon? Everyone looked at each other. What kind of miraculous things had happened on this day? First, everyone in the cloud-top heavenly palace had been killed. Then, the wedding had gone on as planned. Moreover, everyone had received a 9th grade elixir. If there were more people from a sect, it would be a huge gain. But now, a legendary dragon had appeared out of nowhere. A dragon from Dragon Island. And now, this mighty and fierce dragon was braised by Li Zongjie with fire. Now, everyone present could enjoy a meal of freshly braised dragon meat. Li Zongjie waved his hand and took out the dragon pearl of the Obsidian Dragon Clan's 7th guardian. Thousands of years of cultivation power had been integrated into the dragon pearl. Even without adding any herbs, the dragon pearl could become a divine-grade elixir. Take this as a gift from the Dragon Clan. Li Zongjie gave the priceless dragon pearl to Kuan Erishur and Shueiyue. Kuan Erishur naturally accepted it without hesitation. How can I accept this? Shueiyue, take it. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. A loud voice came from the side. Oh my god, this is excellent dragon meat. Who braised it like this? A chef holding a big ladle looked up at the sky and broke down. Chapter 14:19. Everyone present felt like they were in a dream. Everyone was given a large piece of braised dragon meat. Although the dragon meat looked a little burnt, the aroma still filled their nostrils. Even if they accidentally died after eating this meal today, they could still boast about their bragging rights. In the future, they would have a lot of bragging rights. After all, this was dragon meat. Who could do such a thing and directly eat dragon meat? Perhaps even the dragons themselves had never done such a thing. Only the legendary Heavenly Demon Clan had the ability to eat dragon meat. Although dragon meat was difficult to digest, it could replenish a large amount of yuan power after eating it. Most importantly, it could strengthen one's vitality and prolong one's life. It would also be of great help to the transformation of one's body. This was something that could not be brought by other things. Only dragon meat could bring about such huge benefits. After eating this meal, one could at least live for more than 10 years. Li Zongjie packed a portion of it. After all, he had cooked it himself. He would bring some for his parents to taste later. This trip could be said to be completely worth it. Everyone understood one after another. With strength, one could really do whatever one wanted. Even the legendary dragon was caught and eaten directly. It was very shocking. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, it was time to enter the bridal chamber. However, Li Zongjie could not participate in this kind of thing. Later, Li Zongjie announced the establishment of the Heavenly Cloud Palace. The palace master was Su Mei. Many forces also understood that the foundation of the Heavenly Cloud Palace had directly fallen into Su Mei's hands. This kind of supreme benefit really made people quite envious. What kind of luck did Su Mei have? She could actually get Li Zongjie's appreciation. Because she stood on the right side this time, she would be able to reach the sky in one step and rise step by step. Everyone was envious of Su Mei's experience. In fact, Li Zongjie was completely uninterested in the resources of the untainted land. Not only were there few resources in the untainted land, but it was also very dangerous. It was better to just stay in the sacred martial realm. Naturally, someone would send a large amount of resources to Li Zongjie. In fact, Li Zongjie didn't even care about these resources now. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. From then on, the name of the evil lord was officially known in the untainted land. Everyone knew the name of the evil lord, and had heard of the evil lord's military exploits. They were waiting for him to show his strength. Naturally, it was quite terrifying. The next day, Li Zongjie was also preparing to bid farewell. If Kuan Erishur and the others were interested, they could stay and continue building the Heavenly Cloud Tower. However, since Su Mei was already the sect leader, there would be no change. Kuan Erishur and Shueiyue also wanted to travel around the continent. After all, they were finally reunited after such a long time. Of course, they wanted to go out and have a good time in order to relieve the longing in their hearts. Their longing had nothing to do with Li Zongjie. Shueiyu's strength was already above Kuan Erishur's. Given their strength, As long as they didn't go to some very dangerous places in the untainted land, it was obvious that they would lose their lives. It was enough for them to roam freely. If they didn't dare to go just because of the danger, it would be too boring. There was no such thing as an absolutely safe place. The real safety was still in one's own hands. Xiang Fei stayed and managed the Heavenly Cloud Tower with his senior sister Su Mei. Su Mei happened to need a helper, so a large amount of resources was almost given to the two of them. This showed Li Zhongjio's generosity, since Xiang Fei was willing to stand up and support Lan Kuan in such a dangerous situation. This loyalty was something that Li Zhongjio could see. At the very least, Li Zhongjio felt that Xiang Fei was extremely loyal. Therefore, he would definitely treat Xiang Fei well in the future. Given Li Zhongjio's current strength and status, he could send someone to heaven with just a word. Of course, if someone provoked Li Zhongjio, he could also send that person to hell with just a word. The Du clan also needed to find time to deal with the Tan clan. This time, the Du clan seemed to have reached a strategic cooperation with the Divine Tiger sect. At least if they wanted to take action against the Tan clan, they would be able to find a few allies. Even the Purple Heaven Sword sect had the intention of getting close to the Du clan. Anyone could see that Li Zhongjio and the Du clan had a deep relationship. As long as they had a good relationship with the Du clan, they would definitely be of great use in the future. If they could make friends with the fiercest person in the untainted land, it would be useless. No matter where they went in the future, it would be much more convenient. This time, Su Wangshan of the Mountain Sea Pavilion also directly obtained 2 9th-grade Supreme Being spiritual beasts as Mountain Guardian Divine Beasts. To Su Wangshan, was there anything more exciting than this? Previously, these 2 powerful spiritual beasts belonged to Li Zhongjio, but now, the control of these 2 spiritual beasts was directly handed over to Su Wangshan. Although Su Wangshan would not do anything too overboard, at least he truly owned these 2 spiritual beasts, causing the strength of the Mountain Sea Pavilion to soar. Qing Shilong was working hard at pulling the flying boat in front. They had returned to the Xingyan dynasty. The Sacred Flame Royal City was still bustling. Of course, the current Qingkuan Sacred City was also bustling. Although Li Zhongjio was not in the Xingyan dynasty during this period and rarely showed himself, Li Zhongjio's prestige was still there, and the many forces under him were also developing. Li Yun had become the underground queen of the Sacred Flame Royal City. Moreover, Li Yun's management style was different from King of Fire's. The King of Fire was just casually playing around, but Li Yun was working hard to manage the huge territory. At the same time, she protected the poor from being bullied. She even changed her name to Ghost King Sect. Li Yun was officially called Godmother by the people around her. When Li Zhongjio entered the Xingyan dynasty's territory, he let Qing Shilong turn back into a human form, not a dragon. Being low-key was what Li Zhongjio pursued. After returning, Li Zhongjio went straight to Wuxia City. The other places were also ordinary for Li Zhongjio. The most important thing was to return to his parents' side and check on their health. From afar, Wuxia City appeared in front of his eyes. This feeling of familiarity and closeness also made Li Zhongjio feel happy. The familiarity and closeness of returning to his own home was indescribable. Since the last time he was in Wuxia City, at least 4 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Most importantly, Li Zhongjio was familiar with everything in Wuxia City. The Sky-Blaze Lion didn't sense Li Zhongjio's aura. After all, after Li Zhongjio restrained his aura, ordinary people wouldn't be able to detect him. As for Qing Shilong, he had also restrained his aura. Otherwise, if he walked on the street, the surrounding people would be directly crushed to death by his aura. The two of them walked on the street of Wuxia City. It wasn't eye-catching. Compared to before, Wuxia City didn't change much. There were only some new buildings. After all, some of the buildings had existed for a long time, and were dangerous buildings. Therefore, it was normal to renovate them. The population of Wuxia City had also become much larger than before. Many people wanted to settle down in Wuxia City, a place with good feng shui. It could be said that they were racking their brains. Li Mansion. There wasn't a need for special guards. Therefore, the entrance was empty. After all, Everyone knew what existed in the Li mansion. It wasn't a place where one could casually barge in, unless one didn't want to live. Then one could give it a try. The entrance was also quite low-key. There was no other movement. He pushed the door and entered. The Li mansion was quiet. After all, most of the young disciples of the Li family were sent to Sacred Flame Royal City. Many ambitious young people also went to other places to make a living. Moreover, in just 4 years there weren't many new young people. Young master? My God, are you the young master? As soon as Li Zongjio entered, he saw Li Muyuan with some elders. They seemed to be in a hurry, as if they were going to do something important. However, when they saw Li Zongjio, they were also surprised. Young master, you're back. That's great. After confirming that it was Li Zongjio, Li Muyuan's face was even more surprised. He quickly came to Li Zongjio's side. Where are you going? Li Zongjio saw that they were in a hurry, as if something had happened. Moreover, it seemed that his father wasn't in the Li family. Where could his father go? The Li family was now a big family. Was there anything that needed his father to personally take care of? There are some big things. Young master, you just came back. There are many things that you don't know. Now the family head and the great elder have gone to Tianyin Dynasty for the Three Dynasties Conference. The Three Dynasties Conference? What's that? Li Zongjio couldn't help but ask. Young master, do you know Dragon Island? Just half a year ago, a messenger who claimed to be from Dragon Island sent a letter to the royal families of the Three Dynasties. He wanted to give them half a year's time to hand over their authority and submit to Dragon Island's rule. The deadline was 3 days ago. In the end, no one cared about Dragon Island. They thought that some bold force was pretending to be Dragon Island. However, 3 days ago, a giant dragon descended from the sky and brought with it a torrential flood. It instantly engulfed a city in Tianyin Dynasty and killed hundreds of thousands of people. Chapter 1420. The city was flooded. Thus, everyone also realized this. The seriousness of this matter made the Three Dynasties immediately decide to sit down and have a good talk, because a giant dragon really appeared. This was no joke. Now the Three Dynasties were gathered in order to ensure that those who attended the meeting would not attack each other and get along with each other peacefully. Harmony breeds wealth. Therefore, they directly invited Li Tianqing over. Because Li Zongjio was famous, and his strength was also quite terrifying. He was also the imperial tutor of the Shengyan dynasty. However, those who knew him also knew that the current emperor of the Shengyan dynasty was also Li Zongjio's disciple. Originally, they wanted to invite Li Zongjio to oversee the meeting. However, even Li Zongjio did not know where Li Zongjio was. Therefore, they could only boldly invite Li Tianqing over. With Li Tianqing here, they could naturally ensure that the rest of the people wouldn't secretly make a move and cause trouble. Although the Three Dynasties were more harmonious recently, the Haika dynasty was gradually developing now. There would always be some problems, and it was very normal for there to be some small conflicts. There was no guarantee that there would be some problems. After all, this was a meeting between the Three Dynasties. Once the negotiations were carried out, there would be many important members present. If they could not ensure safety, the meeting would be difficult to succeed. Is that so? Li Zongjio frowned when he heard this. The dragon clan on Dragon Island was really too arrogant. They actually dared to flood the city and slaughter the people. They did not put everyone in their eyes. Moreover, the dragon clan was really too arrogant. They thought that by issuing such a notice, they could make the Three Dynasties give up their territory. Wasn't this daydreaming? The human race had a civilization that lasted for tens of thousands of years. They would not be easily driven away by other races. In the Nine Lineages Heavenly Book, there was actually no existence of the Dragon Clan. Perhaps the Dragon Clan itself was just a small branch. On the other hand, the human race had been around for countless years. Ever since the birth of the human race, they had never disappeared. On the other hand, the other races had also gone extinct, and those that were born later were not necessarily of the original pure bloodline. Then where are you going? We just received news that the Dragon Clan has appeared in North Sea City. The people at the seaside also saw it. So we were preparing to send the news to the meeting place of the three dynasties. However, we didn't have a specific location. So we were anxious and saw that young master had returned. Li Muyuan said. However, you don't have to worry about the family head's dangerous situation. Just the day before yesterday, Miss Qi Yinran came and personally escorted the family head there. Li Muyuan was also worried that Li Zongjie would be angry at them for not being able to protect Li Tianqing. Therefore, he quickly said that because of Qi Yinran's presence, that was why they didn't force the issue. I understand. Li Zongjie nodded and said, North Sea City? If Qi Yinran was with his father, Li Zongjie was absolutely assured. With Qi Yinran's strength, she could easily deal with these people. There was no need to worry about his father's situation at all. On the contrary, since there were traces of the Dragon Clan in North Sea City, Li Zongjie naturally had to go there. Otherwise, if these idiotic Dragon Clan directly flooded the Golden Mountain again, wouldn't they suffer heavy losses in an instant? Although Li Zongjie was not a good person, he had no reason to do so. But without any reason, they would never do such a crazy thing. However, these dragons were not good people. Li Zongjie must stop these guys. Come with me, all of you, Li Zongjie said. After all, this matter was urgent. Madam is in the house. Don't you want to see her? Li Muyuan said, referring to Li Zongjie's mother, Madam Shen. No need. Let's talk about it when we come back. You just come with me. The others stay here. If there's any situation, send a message to North Sea City, Li Zongjie said. Although Li Zongjie had just returned and had been away for a long time, his deterrence had not decreased. His words still had the right to speak. Yes, young master, Li Muyuan said respectfully. Immediately, Li Zongjie took Li Muyuan and soared into the sky. The old green stone dragon followed behind and directly summoned the Tianwu boat in the sky. Li Zongjie didn't need the azure stone dragon to pull the airship. In any case, it didn't have any effect. Once the novelty wore off, it wouldn't be interesting anymore. After gathering the 4 dragon kings, Li Zongjie would consider letting them pull his airship. Who is this? Li Muyuan also saw the green stone dragon. The latter's expression was arrogant, but in front of Li Zongjie, he did not dare to be arrogant. Most importantly, although he had transformed into a human, his nature was different from a normal person. At a glance, one could tell that the person in front of him was not an ordinary person. He was not simple. The latter's identity was not simple. He was afraid that he would accidentally offend someone, so it was better to ask clearly. I caught him. He's also from the Dragon Clan. You can call him whatever you want. What's your name? Li Zongjie just remembered that he did not ask for the other party's name. Of course, it was not too late to ask now. My name is Qing. Okay, then I'll call you Old Qing, Li Zongjie directly said. What? Also from the Dragon Clan? Li Muyuan suddenly looked at the old man in front of him in shock. There was a trace of disbelief in his eyes. Another member of the Dragon Clan popped out. Isn't the giant Dragon Clan a legendary existence? The one in front of him did not look like a giant dragon. He seemed to have seen the doubt in Li Muyuan's eyes. Go and transform for him to see. When Old Qing heard this, his face suddenly changed. Who do you think I am? You actually want me to transform? I'm not a performer. However, in the end, Old Qing still chose to give in. With a shake of his body, he directly transformed into a giant green dragon. His huge tail was swaying, and the pair of wings on his back were also flapping. At this moment, a terrifying aura was also released. Li Muyuan saw the Dragon Clan in front of him, at such a close distance. It was so real. Fortunately, he was in the sky. If he transformed on the ground and was seen by others, it would definitely cause a commotion. Oh my god, this is too shocking. Li Muyuan himself also thought that he was experienced and knowledgeable. But now, the 3 empires just happened to meet such a strong enemy. In the end, there was a dragon that had become Li Zongjie's pet. How could he look at this matter with a normal perspective? It was really unbelievable. At this moment, Li Muyuan was shocked. It was natural. Since you've already transformed, Then pull us over while you're at it. Li Zongjie said. Old Qing's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of despair, as if he was saying that he had already known that this would be the result, and end up like this. There was no other way. Thus, he could only pull the flying boat. Then, Qing Shilong directly took the sky marshal boat and flew away. Li Muyuan was shocked once again. The legendary giant dragon was actually used as a coolie. In this world, perhaps only the young patriarch could succeed. It was fine if he didn't come back, but when he came back, the situation was actually so terrifying. Perhaps this kind of achievement was nothing special in Li Zongjie's eyes. However, in the eyes of ordinary people like Li Muyuan, it was already shocking. It was already shocking to the heavens. It could even be said that it was a truly earth-shattering shock. His young master was really powerful. He was always one step ahead of others. The sky marshal boat's speed was also very fast. In the blink of an eye, it flew above the sea of clouds. Qing Shilong's physique was still very good. He directly took Li Zongjie and flew into the sky. Which direction? Li Zongjie asked. This way. Li Muyuan held the compass and the map in his hands. After quickly identifying the direction, he quickly said, Turn around, Li Zongjie shouted. Qing Shilong turned his body, making a big circle in the sky. Apparently, even the dragon clan could be tamed. Although the other party thought that he was very noble. In front of Li Zongjie, whether he was noble or not was another matter. Anyway, first he had to learn to be obedient, no matter how arrogant he was in the past. Along the way, Li Muyuan was also admiring the back of Qing Shilong, who was struggling to pull the flying boat. Even when such a huge dragon was pulling the flying boat, it still looked so imposing. Qing Shilong pulled the flying boat, almost crossing the entire Xingyan dynasty. Finally, they arrived in front of the North Sea city. In front of them was a boundless sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. At the edge of the sea, there was a city, as if it was standing at the mouth of the wind and the waves. Half of the North Sea city could be said to be a city, while the other half was an island. Such a unique environment also made the North Sea city rich in marine products. However, recently, strange things kept happening. The fishing boats that went out to sea were often directly overturned by mysterious giant waves. Moreover, when they were returning with a full load, they were overturned by this mysterious giant wave. In the end, the boat also overturned. The seafood that was caught with great difficulty all returned to the sea. Moreover, the people on the boat also disappeared. No one survived. Just a day ago, finally there was a survivor. Furthermore, he finally revealed what it was that had overturned the giant ships. It was the Dragon Clan. Chapter 1421. Due to the incident with the Dragon Clan, North Sea City was currently in a state of martial law. Even those with unknown identities would be strictly investigated. North Sea City was also part of the Xingyan dynasty's territory. With Li Muyuan's status, there was naturally no problem. Even the city lord of North Sea City had personally come to receive them. As for Elder Qing, he had also transformed back into an old man, and silently followed behind Li Zongjie and Li Muyuan. Ah, my three lords, you're finally here. The city lord of North Sea City, Zhuo hurriedly came over with a guard of honor. When his subordinates reported that the Li family had actually sent people over, Zhuo knew that there were old acquaintances. The current Li family had a very high status in the entire Jianghu. Although the young master of the Li family, Li Zongjie, was the current great master of the nation, he had a fearsome title in the Jianghu, and that was the Evil Lord. Therefore, the Li family's status was also very high. Even when there were many injustices in the Jianghu, the Li family had to be invited to be the judge. For example, when the big shots of two sides had been fighting over territory, and later realized that they had suffered heavy losses, and wanted to stop, they didn't know how to bring it up. Therefore, they could only invite the Li family. Just the appearance fee in this aspect was already very high. The Li family's wealth was already at a level where it could reach the sky. However, the current Li family didn't just stop at accumulating wealth. They were also accumulating their own reputation and prestige. There was no other family in history that could achieve the fame and prestige that the Li family had today. They were fully deserving of being the #1 family. Even the current meeting of the 3 dynasties needed Li Tianqing to be the matchmaker and preside over it. The people that Zhuo Changzhou brought with him were the elites of North Sea City's management. They were all people of the imperial court, but now they needed to welcome an envoy from a Jianghu family. Li Zongjiu had already instructed Li Muyuan to handle all matters. Li Muyuan also understood that Li Zongjiu didn't want him to be exposed too much. After all, if the evil lord were to come, the streets might turn out in droves to offer flowers, causing all of North Sea City to fall into a frenzy. City Lord Zhua, there's no need to make such a big fuss. Let's move to the meeting area, said Li Muyuan. Initially, Zhuo Changzhou wanted to hold a banquet to entertain Li Muyuan. However, he didn't expect Li Muyuan to be so concerned about the people. He was truly worthy of being from the #1 family in the world, the Li family. All right, this way please. Zhuo Changzhou noticed that Li Muyuan had asked Li Zongjiu for instructions before he left. Zhuo Changzhou immediately understood that this young man must be an extremely important figure in the Li family. However, Zhuo Changzhou didn't expect Li Zongjiu to be the legendary evil lord. He also didn't dare to think that something like this would attract the evil lord. After all, the evil lord was a figure who had reached the pinnacle of the continent. How could he appear for such a small matter? Naturally, it didn't make sense. However, even if he wasn't the evil lord, his identity was definitely not simple. He hurriedly brought Li Muyuan and the others to the city lord's mansion and gave them a concise account of what had happened in the past few days. When everyone learned that there were actually 7 fishing boats that had been overturned by the mysterious giant waves, all of them had been buried in the sea. Most importantly, these people had not really been buried in the sea, but had been devoured by something similar to a giant dragon. Therefore, this matter was quite serious. Zhuo Changzhou immediately reported this news to his superiors. Instead, the Li family received the news first and rushed over. Since this mysterious giant wave specifically targeted the fishing boats, let's take a boat out and see what it's capable of. Li Zongjiu said directly when everyone was in the midst of a heated discussion. Immediately, some people in the meeting were displeased. They glanced at Li Zongjiu from the corner of their eyes and thought that Li Zongjiu didn't know what was good for him. Couldn't he see that this group of important figures was discussing something important? Did he think that he was going out to sea to fish? This was something that could cost him his life. Who would dare to go out to sea? Elderly, we respect the Li family's reputation, but we can't joke around in any situation. Elderly, please discipline some of the younger disciples. The person who spoke was an official in charge of tax collection in the city. It could be said that half of the city's income was in his hands. Most of the financial resources were in his hands. Therefore, when he spoke, he was naturally much more forceful. Lord Su, everyone here has the right to express their opinions. It's better not to deny it so quickly. Zhuo Changzhou hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Perhaps this little brother has some other way to find out if the demonic dragon is really causing trouble, Zhang Wuji said. Although Zhuo Changzhou didn't know Li Zongjiu's identity, he knew that Li Zongjiu was definitely not a simple person. Since he came with Li Muyuan, he couldn't afford to offend someone from the Li family. When Li Muyuan heard this, he immediately gave Zhuo Changzhou a look of pity. You old thing, of all people to offend, you just had to offend someone like Li Zongjiu who doesn't seem powerful, but is actually a transcendent god. Even the current emperor of the Shengyan dynasty has to kneel in front of Li Zongjiu. However, Li Muyuan didn't expose Li Zongjiu's identity. At the same time, it was also a good opportunity to see how much prestige the Li family had in the outside world. Now that the Li family was in charge of too many things, many people were already starting to be dissatisfied with the Li family. There were also some people who gradually began to look down on the Li family because of the Li family's reputation after such a long time. He even tried to provoke the Li family's prestige. There was no lack of such people who were ignorant and narrow-minded. They always thought that their strength was very good, so occasionally, they would be tempted to challenge the Li family's prestige. It was obvious that Lord Su was very interested in this matter. I'm not targeting the Li family, but if this matter really has something to do with the giant dragon race, I don't believe that the Li family alone can handle it. That Lord Su didn't seem to know the seriousness of this matter. He was still talking to himself, completely ignoring Zhuo Changzhou's look. Oh, then Lord Su, what do you think? Li Muyuan wasn't in a hurry. He naturally had many ways to deal with this kid. However, since this kid dared to disrespect the Li family in front of Li Muyuan, there had to be someone backing him up. Therefore, Li Muyuan was rather interested in the person who was hiding behind the scenes. He wanted to see who exactly was behind all this. I've already contacted the people of the North Sea Divine Emperor Island. The Divine Emperor Island has already sent a navy over. They will definitely be able to capture this thing that looks like a demon dragon. North Sea Divine Emperor Island? When he heard this name, Li Muyuan's eyes lit up. No wonder this kid dared to be so arrogant. It turned out that the legendary North Sea Divine Emperor Island was backing him up. The North Sea Divine Emperor Island was actually controlled by a mysterious family. Moreover, this mysterious family had already left the stage of the continent 1,000 years ago and moved to the Divine Emperor Island with the entire family. At the same time, they had also cut off all contact with the outside world. It was said that the people of the Divine Emperor Island were born with the ability to control water. They could even control the weather on the sea. Some people even said that the people of the Divine Emperor Island were the descendants of the sea god. Li Zhongjie had also heard about the legends of the Divine Emperor Island in his previous life. However, at that time, these people had been hiding and did not show up. Li Zhongjie wasn't the kind of person who would go around looking for trouble. As long as you didn't provoke Li Zhongjie, he wouldn't take the initiative to look for trouble. Of course, the 4 supreme masters of the dragon tribe were an exception. At that time, the 4 supreme masters of the dragon tribe had something that Li Zhongjie wanted. Therefore, he could only offend them. This matter couldn't be entirely blamed on Li Zhongjie. Now these people of the Divine Emperor Island seemed to want to reappear in the underworld. Li Muyuan looked at Li Zhongjie's expression. He immediately made a decision. Since Lord Su believes in the people of the Divine Emperor Island, how about inviting them to board the ship with us? Li Muyuan said. This method was exactly what Li Zhongjie wanted. They couldn't always bully people. It would be rude to kill them without them knowing. They should give them a chance to face the light. Even if they died, they should die knowing the reason. Obviously, Lord Su wouldn't be able to survive. Zhuo Changzhou heard Li Muyuan's words and heaved a sigh of relief. At least they didn't start a fight right here, and then stab them to death, and throw them into the North Sea. In fact, even if the Li family really did that, Lord Su wouldn't even have the chance to react before he was killed. Unless he turned into a ghost and tried again. I can't control the people of the Divine Emperor Island. I have to ask them if they are willing to let us board the ship. But they should be here soon. Lord Su immediately showed a flattering smile. It seemed that he was very proud to be able to make friends with the people of the Divine Emperor Island. Dong! Suddenly, there was a knock on the door of the governor's mansion. Then he heard a sound that sounded like waves of water. Is this the governor's mansion? As the sound of waves swept over, the sound that followed was also like a tsunami. It rolled into the ears. Everyone present felt as if they were at the seaside. Chapter 1422. Apart from Li Zhongjie and Old Qing, the rest of the people were also shaken by the sound that sounded like a tsunami. They couldn't tell the direction and were completely confused. Then 2 figures walked in from outside the house. Lord Su, who had woken up, quickly stood up to welcome them. Masters, please come in. It was an old man who was over 50 years old. He was wearing a green robe, and beside him was a cold-looking lady in her 20s. She was wearing a blue dress. The material of the dress was very special. It was soft and smooth. When it swayed, it looked like ripples on the water. Everyone, these 2 are from the Divine Emperor Island. This is Master Gu Lang, and this is Master Lu Su. Lord Su cleared his throat and introduced them to the crowd. Before the Li family, the Divine Emperor Island was already the #1 family in the mainland 1,000 years ago. Now that they had made a comeback, they felt like they were seniors looking at juniors in front of the Li family. Therefore, Master Gulang didn't care about Li Zongjio and the others at all. In fact, he didn't even care about anyone at the scene. "Masters, please take a seat." Zhuo Changzhou also hurriedly stood up to welcome him. It was really not easy being the city lord. Now that the two legendary clans had clashed together, if there was even the slightest hint of competition, the consequences would be very troublesome. Therefore, Zhuo Changzhou was very careful. There's no need for that. The reason why the Divine Emperor Island came out this time is to deal with this group of demonic dragons. Other things aren't important. Master Gulang said slowly. What an indifferent move. It was as if he was telling everyone that he was here to deal with this matter, and not for fame. He just wanted to save the people and return peace to Beihai City. However, the people of the Li family were different. Whenever there was something that could earn them a reputation, they would sharpen their heads and drill into it. They couldn't wait to come over and earn back their reputation. Therefore, in comparison, the Li family seemed to be acting like a villain. A cold light flashed across Li Muyuan's eyes. It's not too late to talk about it after we've dealt with it. Don't be in a hurry to say that it's for the sake of the people. Li Muyuan immediately opened his mouth and mocked. If these people from the Divine Emperor Island really just wanted to solve the problem in the Northern Sea City, they could just go there directly. Why did they have to come here and show their faces? It was a bit unnecessary. Li Muyuan was mocking the other party for not having the ability to solve this problem. It was not so easy to win back his reputation without batting an eyelid. Courting death. A cold glint flashed across the azure-blue eyes of Lu Su, the woman beside Master Gulang. Even his entire body was surrounded by an icy aura. Ice immediately appeared beneath his feet. Several icicles instantly condensed in front of him, and he was about to kill Li Muyuan. Nobody would have thought that the situation would become so dangerous in the blink of an eye. Nobody would have thought that the situation would become so dangerous. Just because they didn't agree with each other, they would directly kill people. However, the people they wanted to kill were from the Li family. The people of the Divine Emperor Island were too bold. Stop, Master Gulang said. At the same time, the icicles that flew out turned into a puddle of water. Li Muyuan remained calm as he landed on the ground. Firstly, Li Muyuan had good self-control. If he embarrassed the Li family in such a situation, it would be a big deal. Secondly, Li Zongjio was right beside him. How could the young master watch something happen to him? Therefore, this was the reason why Li Muyuan was so calm. A hint of displeasure flashed across Lu Su's eyes. She looked at Li Muyuan, as if to say that he was lucky to have escaped this time. If there was a next time, it wouldn't be so smooth. Since you want to see what I'm capable of, Lord Su, please arrange a ship to go out to sea. Gulang wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he said slowly to Lord Su, Don't worry, Master. I'll arrange it right away. Zhuo Changzhou also came to Li Muyuan and apologized profusely. After all, this was something that he didn't expect. How could something like this happen at such a critical juncture? Hence, Zhuo Changzhou felt rather apologetic. It's fine. Li Muyuan naturally didn't have a pleasant expression. The other party was actually so rude. If Li Zongjio wasn't here, Li Muyuan would have mobilized his forces to test the strength of this Divine Emperor Island. At the very least, he had to find out who this Divine Emperor Island was. What was there to be so arrogant about? The Li family had the final say in the Shengyan dynasty now. The resources that they could mobilize were so powerful that it was unimaginable. Young master. Li Muyuan came to Li Zongjio and said softly, Well done. Let's go and have a look. Li Zongjio was very satisfied with Li Muyuan's performance. There were many talents in the Li family. Now Li Muyuan didn't embarrass the Li family. If Li Muyuan dared to embarrass the Li family, Li Zongjio would be the first to deal with Li Muyuan. Some of the things that were really ingrained in one's bones required a certain amount of training to be natural. Everyone came to the port. Now the port was full of ships, and all the ships had put away their sails. Now no one dared to go out to sea. When Zhuo Changzhou and the others came to the port, It also brought a lot of confidence and encouragement to the fishermen at the port. This was because the officials finally took this matter seriously and were willing to stand up for the common people. This was a real good city lord. Everyone was cheering and shouting the name of city lord Zhuochangzhou. At this moment, some people were mobilizing the military ships. After all, these civilian ships couldn't be used for sailing. A ship that looked like an iron bucket sailed into the port. The warship had its own port, but in order to appease the common people, Zhuochangzhou specially mobilized the warship to this port. Everyone directly boarded the ship at the port. There were also Marines waiting solemnly on the ship. After Li Zongjiu boarded the ship, he noticed a figure leaning against the railing at the edge of the port. The corner of his mouth was filled with a mocking smile. Although she was in the crowd, she was quite eye-catching. The mature charm she exuded made Li Zongjiu instantly lock onto her. Interesting. Li Zongjiu wasn't in a hurry to go back and test out the woman's true situation. Instead, he remained on the ship, heading out into the open sea. However, when old Qing, who was next to Li Zongjiu, saw the woman leaning on the railing of the shore, his eyes suddenly widened. What? How could it be her? Immediately, old Qing felt as if he had been struck by lightning. I don't care, I want to get off the ship. I want to get off the ship. Old Qing seemed to be frightened. It seemed that this woman had a very mysterious origin. Otherwise, old Qing wouldn't be so frightened. However, old Qing's panic was also seen by the people of Divine Emperor Island. Immediately, Lord Su also sneered. If you want to get off the ship, hurry up and jump down now. You have to swim back. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. A trace of disdain flashed in Liu Su's eyes. What's this so-called number one family of the continent? How could they have the nerve to call themselves the number one family of the continent with such a cowardly attitude? The reputation of their Divine Emperor Island back then was not like this. They had just boarded the ship, and they were already so scared that they wet their pants. It was really quite embarrassing. At this point, Liu Su felt like she was watching a big show. It just so happened that the journey would be more boring, so she wanted to see how these people would embarrass themselves. Haha, don't worry, if you kneel down and beg me, I can consider saving your life out of kindness. I won't let you die like this. Liu Su said lightly. Even in such a situation, she seemed to be emphasizing that she came here to save people, not to promote her family's reputation, so that when her family came back in the future, they could directly come back with a good reputation. You little girl, what do you know? After old Qing heard this, he also directly scolded Liu Su. It was really a disaster. She didn't even know it, yet she was still here as if nothing had happened. It simply made old Qing want to cry but have no tears. Immediately, Liu Su's face became extremely gloomy, and her whole expression changed in an instant. What does this guy mean? However, old Qing obviously didn't intend to continue to pay attention to Liu Su. Instead, he quickly came in front of Li Zongjiu and grabbed Li Zongjiu. I beg you, big brother, please give me back my Dragon Ball and let me go. If I don't go now, I will really die. Old Qing directly knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu, without any scruples. He was very afraid of death. After living quietly on Dragon Island for so long, he had already enjoyed this kind of comfortable life. Suddenly, he was involved in such a bloody dispute. Originally, he thought that it would be very easy for these dragons on Dragon Island to dominate the continent. But who knew that when they really did it, they would know how difficult it was. Qing Shilong directly encountered Li Zongjiu, and in the end, he ended up like this, which made people sigh endlessly. But now this matter was not simple. Even that person had come. Now if they directly fled, or went back to apologize, then they could at least have a way to live. But if they didn't leave at that time, their end would be miserable. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.